Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Howell Township Council Workshop Meeting of June 14, 2011. I call the meeting to order. Ms. Bowling, please read the opening statement.
Let the minutes reflect that adequate notice of the holding of this workshop meeting of the Howell Township Council was provided for in the following manner: by the posting of a copy of said notice upon the bulletin board in the Township Municipal Building on January 1, 2011. By the faxing of a copy of said notice to the Asbury Park Press, Tri-Town News, and Star Ledger for publication on January 1, 2011. By the filing of a copy of said form of notice in the Township Clerk's office on January 1, 2011. The public will be allowed to attend and will be allowed to participate pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Law. The public is reminded that civility and decorum will be maintained during the meeting. Any contracts awarded at this meeting or between now and the next meeting will be required to comply with the requirements of Public Law 1975, Chapter 127. In accordance with the Fire Prevention Code, be advised that this facility is designed with 3 emergency exits for your safety. The locations are as follows. Upon exiting the meeting room to the rear, they are to immediate left and immediate right, and at the front of the meeting room at the left of the dais. Furthermore, smoking is not permitted in the municipal building. Please take note that this meeting is being videotaped for possible future broadcast on Howell Television.
Can I have a roll call, please, Ms. Woolman?
Mrs. Clark?
She will be with us shortly.
Mr. Nicastro?
Here.
Mrs. Smith?
Present.
Mr. Gatto?
Present.
Mayor Walsh?
Here. Ms. Slade, I believe we have reason to go into executive session.
Yes, Mayor, personnel.
Ms. Woolman, will you please read the executive session resolution?
Whereas the governing body of the Township of Howell is authorized pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12 to exclude the public from that portion of the meeting for purposes of discussing specific matters as permitted by NJSA 10:4-12. Whereas the governing body of the Township of Howell intends to discuss certain matters which are deemed confidential pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12. Whereas at this time, the governing body of the Township of Howell cannot determine the time when the discussion to be held in executive session will be made public, but will disclose the minutes of executive session when the need for confidentiality no longer exists. Now therefore be it resolved by the governing body of the Township of Howell that this meeting shall be adjourned to an executive session, and the public will be excluded in order that the governing body of the Township of Howell may discuss the items previously listed, and upon reconvening this public meeting, the presiding officer will announce, if possible, the time when and the circumstances under which the discussion conducted in executive session will be disclosed to the public.
Need a motion to go into executive.
So moved, Mayor.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Can I have a roll call, please, Ms. Woolman?
Mr. Nicastro?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Gatto?
Yes.
Mayor Walsh?
Yes, for the benefit of the public, we reconvene the meeting approximately 7:30. This time, I'd like to reconvene the meeting. Would you all please stand for the salute to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would you all please remain standing for one moment in silent observation of our troops that are fighting all over the world, so we get to enjoy the freedom we get to enjoy on a daily basis. Me personally, I'll be praying for their safe return to the land that they love and to their families. We'll wait on reported township officials, okay? Aline? We'll do the presentations first this evening.
That's fine.
The executive session minutes from tonight's meeting can be disclosed to the public at next month's regular meeting, provided need for confidentiality no longer exists. Ms. Woolman, am I good?
You are good, Mayor.
I'm good. You good tonight, Ms. Woolman?
I'm great tonight.
Okay. At this time, I'd like the governing body to please join me up front, and we have a Assemblyman Rival here also to help us in honoring some people that really need to be honored. So would you all please join me up front?
These are good.
They're good.
Kathy McKee, please come up. Kathy, you've earned at this moment to be wherever you would like.
Okay.
Okay? It's pretty amazing when you go to this. We have some special trees planted, and it's done in coordination with the Girl Scouts. It's been going on for years. Would you
Yes.
like to tell us a little bit, Kathy?
Oh, okay. Well, every year, Howell Township celebrates Arbor Day.
It's on, right?
It is on. Speak right into it.
Okay. Every day, Howell Township celebrates Arbor Day by giving free tree seedlings to all the third graders in the Howell elementary schools. And we get them in bulk from the state tree nursery in Jackson. And they have bare roots, and each tree, and there's usually like close to 900, has to be wrapped individually with a wet paper towel and put in a plastic bag and sealed with a rubber band. And it's very tedious work if only a few people do it, but we've been fortunate to have the Girl Scouts help us every year, and their parents and friends come with them, and they get it done in a very short time, and they do a great job. And we wrap them at the Girl Scout camp. The facilities there are great. Public Works brings over buckets of water and the paper towels for us, and everything just seems to go very well with the excellent help that we get from the Girl Scouts. So tonight we're going to recognize them for that.
Okay. I believe we have some young ladies here that have helped tremendously. I would like to call them up if they were Girl Scouts of Troop 314, 275, 1990, Troop 466. Come on, ladies. 1373, Troop 37, Troop 187, and Troop 1573. Am I missing anybody? Come on. Come on, just come with me. Come on. We're going to pass the microphone. Come on up. Come closer. It may look like I bite, but I don't. Come on.
Yes, he does. He
Good
does.
girls, go ahead, move down, go ahead, go ahead.
Come on.
We're so proud of you, go ahead.
Bring it in.
You have to speak nice and loud.
How about the daisies step forward, come forward, the daisies come on in front of the brownies. Okay, that's good.
Stand tall.
1, 2, 3, everyone say cheese.
To the camera. Give us that big smile. Come on. You know, on 3, say, Mayor Bob. 1, 2, 3. It gets them every time. Everybody but my wife and my own daughters. Now, we'd like you all to introduce yourselves, so I'm going to pass the microphone. Speak into the mic and tell us who you are.
Aaron.
What's your name?
Aaron. Shannon. Caitlin. Isabella. Claire. Katie. Eva. Julia.
Louder.
Loud.
Do it really loud. Close to your mouth.
Julia. Sophia. Gianna. Emily. Samantha.
And back over there.
Aaron.
On behalf of the governing body of Howell Township and the Southern Rival, we would like to thank you very much for your participation. Kathy McKee, she's done great works for years and years with our Shade Tree Committee. She's always on top of us, but she needs help. And these were our helpers on this project, and I'm sure you'll be our helpers of tomorrow. It's a great organization you're with. Keep on going forwards, and I'm sure many good things will come from it. We thank you very much, okay? Also, I'd like to call up Barbara Barbado. Is she here? Come on up, Barbara. Come on up. And is Julie Brady here? Come on, Julie. Would either of you or both of you like to say something? Yes, you do. How do you like that?
We sometimes come here not just to protect our little neighborhoods. We also come with pride. We're working Girl Scouts for probably over 30 years. We're real fortunate because our council is right in our back door, and Camp Sacagawea and our council have been so helpful in developing girls. This project are girls from 5 to 17 years old. They work in cooperation. Some days it's been so bitter cold, some blistering hot. But they're faithful and they come. And council, again, we had a hard time finding a location. Council for over 8 years has allowed us to use camp, and we're grateful for that.
On behalf of Girl Scouts of the Jersey Shore, I'd like to thank you this evening and all these beautiful young ladies for the recognition. Thank you.
And I will read this. This is just a certificate of appreciation. And this one happens to be presented to Julie Brady, the Regional Director of the Girl Scouts of the Jersey Shore. On behalf of the Howell Township Shade Tree Commission, which is Kathy, and the Mayor and Council of the Township of Howell, which was me and them, and his Assemblyman Rival. We offer our sincere thanks to you for making Camp Sacagawea available for preparation of seedlings for Arbor Day 2011. Presented with gratitude on behalf of the Township Council this 14th day of June 2011. And it's signed by me. It says I'm Honorable Robert Francis Walsh. Thank you very much. And I haven't forgotten you, Barbara. Could never forget you, Kathy. You would yell at me.
Thank you.
And this is for all the young ladies' troops. I don't know who's with what troop, so why don't I give them to Barbara? Here, you just take 1573's back. Who's 187? Here you go. 37. Here you go. 1373. Is that 2? 466. They're here in spirit. 1990. Here we go. Okay, 275. And last but definitely not least, I'll play it in the pick 3 tomorrow, 314. Thank you very much. Thank you for all your help with this endeavor. God bless you.
Well, I just want to congratulate the young Girl Scouts. I can remember as a young Boy Scout in Belmar doing the seedling program, and so I know what it's like to wrap the little seedlings. In fact, in my mom's backyard in Belmar, there's about a 4-foot pine tree now. So that tells you how old I am. But I want to just commend the girls and commend the leaders for the great job they're doing. And girls, don't let go of Girl Scouts. Scouting program's a great program, and we appreciate what you're doing for this state and what you're going to do for this nation when you get older. So keep up the good work.
One more good picture. One more good picture. Come on. Come on, one more good picture.
I'll be there. I know you have some in the trunk of your car.
30 of these pounds on me from the cookies. Just have a good night. And hey, especially you young ladies, drive safe. Okay?
And you guys, anytime you want to come back, please visit us.
One, two. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good job. I wasn't joking, but you've been mints either.
Yeah, they're everybody's favorite.
Sleeve of those? Oh, no. Yeah, that wasn't as loud as the regular one.
What?
That hand mic wasn't that loud.
Yeah. What's up with my agenda? I brought it down there with me. I also would just like to read this. It's from the State of New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, the State Forestry Service and Community Forestry Program. This certificate is verification that the Space Shuttle White Pine, given to Howell Township on behalf of Kathy McKee, as one of the seeds that astronaut Gregory Linteris had aboard the United States Space Shuttle Columbia, number 83. The mission was launched on April 4th, 1997, from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Landing took place on April 18th, 1997 at Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Once the seeds were returned, they were germinated in New Jersey Forest Service's greenhouse in Jackson, New Jersey, as part of the Heritage Tree Program. This tree was raffled off in October 2010 at the 85th Shade Tree Federation meeting, and I believe it is down at the bottom of our hill now. Is that correct?
By the library.
It's down by the library. So, Kathy, again, thank you very much for all you do. You're all right in my book. I've always been endeared to Kathy. Once she brought my 2 bulldogs home that were running rampant about 3 blocks away. Okay. Reports of township officials. Mr. Nunziata, anything to report on our roads?
Actually, yes, I do. On June 7th, we had a pre-construction meeting with the contractor, gave him a notice to proceed. We have since rode about half of the roads. They are going to start after the 4th of July. Right now, we're tentatively scheduled for the week of July 12th. It's about 2.5 weeks worth of work. White Street will probably have to be closed. We may be able to do one lane. We're not sure yet, but the schedule on it, we'll know more by the next meeting, but we're tentatively in after the 4th of July. That's the first thing. Second thing is there was a pre-construction meeting on June 3rd at Monmouth County with respect to Echo Lake Bridge. The contract is going to start on July 5th, right after the 4th of July. That is scheduled right now to go, weather permitting, and no, issues that may delay it until the end of November. On the north bank, we have the fishing pier. That will remain open during the duration. On the south bank is the pavilion, the building, and that also has a summer programs. That will also be open for use all season. What they plan to do is on Locust and Lanes Mill, we're going to put barricades that say local traffic only, because there are some residences that are very close to the bridge, but it will not be open for through traffic at all. They will have concrete barricades just past the last driveway, so no one can actually, go from totally across. There is a detour plan. Traffic safety, Sergeant McCulloch was with us. We can post that on the website so people will know the approved detour plan. So it's going to go July till November, so probably for the rest of the year. We do have a fishing tournament. I believe it's the first weekend in October. That will go on as scheduled. We'll have access to both sides. You just can't cross from one side to the other. And then lastly, the Haystock Woods development, Angel Court. Last week, one night, there was a meeting with the residents. The residents came to Town Hall. There was a representative of my department and the bonding company, and all the questions were answered. They are actually starting this week. Thursday, they're going to start jetting the lines, and then they're going to start work on the roads and all the improvements the following week. So that'll take probably 2 or 3 weeks.
But the residents were okay?
The ones that were there, I think there were 5 or 6 of them. There is one issue. I mean, there have been, I don't know, maybe 1 or 2 years between COs. They're required to plant shade trees, as any developer is. However, some of the people may have done their own landscaping. So what the contractor's doing is he's sending a letter to all the residents, and in the letter it's saying, if you want the shade trees, we'll plant them. If you don't want them because you've got your own plantings, you're not going to be forced to take them. Just tell us, you want them refused, and we will take those plantings and plant them in the basin or elsewhere on the site.
Good. I'm glad to see that being resolved. That came before us in the winter time, and it was a pretty serious issue. McKenna, good job on that, okay? Bill?
Mayor, we'll also be sending out email blasts regarding the Echo Lake Bridge closure, as well as any road closures due to the paving. So if anybody would like, they need to go to our website and sign up.
Now, that bridge will be closed for a long time, will it not?
Yes, very long.
6 to 8 months at least?
5
5 to 6.
5 to 6, yeah.
Yeah. All right, 7 to 9. It's okay, it has to be done, and then with the county and, there's no other choice. So they just did a good job fixing over on Ketchum, the bridge. It took about 8 days, and they thought it'd be closed for a couple weeks because weather cooperated, but it is a lot better, so they know their job, let them get after it. Mr. Filiatro,
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
you will later. Ms. Kingman?
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
Ms. Schlegel?
Yes, Mayor. Some residents may have received multiple sewer bills as a result of a malfunction of the Just Service laser printer, and we are seeking reimbursement from the company for any unnecessary postage. In addition, I would like to thank the police department, especially Sergeant David Flaherty, for his work on working on the law enforcement accreditation program. As a result of entering into the program, we received a check today in the amount of $1,500 from the Garden State Municipal Joint Insurance Fund, which is the township's insurance carrier, as an incentive from our participation in that accreditation program.
Shout out to the sergeant for me, will you? Stephen?
Mayor, just a quick note from a follow-up from the last meeting. The How Community Connection has been posted on our website. People can visit it, our website, and access that. Also, if you're signed up, it was blasted out to all the residents who signed up for important advisories and emails.
Okay. Ms. Walman?
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
Councilman Castro?
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
Councilwoman Clark?
I'm going to keep up the, nothing for me tonight.
Councilwoman Smith?
Nothing tonight.
Deputy Mayor?
Negative, Mayor.
Can't follow suit. We did meet with Howell North Little League last week. They've been bestowed a great honor of the 9 and 10-year-old state championships are going to be played at, I believe, July 20th through 27th at Howell North Little League fields. And they've asked to have it publicized in different papers and magazines. They'll be sitting with the chamber, do some stuff there. I was wondering if the governing body, if we could, post a flyer on our township website about the Little League World, about the state playoffs being there.
Absolutely. I don't think that would be an issue. If you could, I will reach out to Mr. Ricuglia and ask him if he has a flyer available.
Because it is a big event.
Oh, absolutely. They should be proud.
There'll be 400 or 500 people there a game for this. When they had the regional playoffs there some years ago, there was at least 200 to 300 people there a game, and now this is the state championship for 9 and 10-year-olds in the league. So it's a good thing for Howell Township. I'd like to see us in a positive light as much as possible. Other than that, I'm good for the moment. At this time, open the meeting to the public
On consent agenda items.
on consent agenda items only. Just on consent agenda items only.
I have to announce the, what's to be taken action on, so they know what they're going to, if they want to comment on anything.
We have some add-ons.
No, Mayor, I don't have any add-ons. The resolutions for action tonight are before you are 7A, 9, 10, 11, and 12.
789, renewal of 2011-12 alcoholic beverage control licenses.
7A9 is the place-to-place transfer for Wine on 9. He's moving 2 suites down, same building complex, 2 suites down.
It's probably a little bit cooler. 711 of Councilman DeCastro, you want a separate vote on that?
Yes, Mayor, please.
Which is oppose the rate increases requested by New Jersey American Water. 7812 is authorize the sale of computers, miscellaneous equipment, and 13 is authorize the return of unused sewer review escrow funds.
Why is 7A6 not taking action?
Well,
No, that's not on, there's the bid opening is on June 21st. It'll be on for action at your next meeting.
Gotcha. Thank you.
so on those items only, the other things we'll be taking action on until the ordinances. Michael Broderick, that's about the building. Would you like to speak about anything else, sir?
No.
Mr. Stixel?
No.
You can run the meeting at the villages. Mr. Sir, we're only going to speak now about consent agenda items, so you don't want to speak about any?
No, just
Okay.
about the consent agenda.
I'll call you later, sir.
Oh, thank you.
James Lang, none about consent agenda. Barbara Dixell, none about consent agenda.
Consent agenda.
Oh, okay, so then come on. Then come on down.
I signed your list for later, but this is for consent agenda.
Okay.
Good evening, Barbara Dixell, 62A Piazza Vittoria, Freehold, New Jersey. 7A11?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you very much for writing a resolution to oppose the increase by New Jersey American Water Company. They were here this afternoon. We all testified. Senator Singer was here. I was here, 1 or 2 other people. Mr. Schlegel testified, and Mr. DeCastro testified. It's really an atrocity that they're doing this again. They say it's a pass-through. Well, but anybody, you know, in this economic situation and these times, it's not a good thing for them to go have another rate increase, even if it's what they call a pass-through. So I really am happy you did this. I read your service list. I said to Mrs. Schlegel, I'll say it again, the only other person you have to send a copy of this reso to is the ALJ. It wasn't on the service list.
We'll take care of that.
Everybody okay with that?
So,
Thank you, Mrs. Dixell.
So, you know, I had it with me this afternoon, but they said I would have read it, but it wasn't passed yet, and I couldn't give it to the ALJ because you don't have it yet, so.
Okay.
Yeah, but absolutely, this has to be, I'm glad the senator came.
Well, they've all been trying to help us, Senator Singer.
They have to
Senator
stop.
Malone and Dancer have always been in there with us.
Right,
Some
but
of
we've
the
been-
rivals, Senator Keene, they've all been trying to help.
So, but it's a shame that with the new president that they have, the old president, Jeannie Fox, on December 8th, 2008, when I went for that other hearing and I went to Newark to listen to it, she specifically stood there and warned them to stop coming back every 2 years for another increase. And lo and behold, there's a new president, a Mr. Lee Solomon. No, get away with it. Go get another increase. And they did. Except that what this man wrote, and I gave it to Senator Singer, and I'm telling the body, because I'm absolutely appalled by it. One of the things that the BPU is concerned about, of course, is the rates, and second of all, that the utility gets a fair return on its investment. What about us? What about us who have to sit here and pay these rates, who live on Social Security only as an only means of income? What about us? He's worried about the utility getting a fair return on its investment. You know something? I think the governing body should have something to say about that one. It's not fair. And I do have the letter from him. It's dated August 25th, 2010.
Thank you very much, Barbara.
It's really an atrocity. It's not fair.
We agree with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Petra Murray about the global. Ken Coffey about the global. Not about consent agenda. All right, at this time, we'll close the public on consent agenda items. Anybody from the governing body? We're going to have a separate vote. That's on 7A11.
Motion to go into regular session.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Can I have a roll call, please, Ms. Woolman?
Mrs. Clark?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Gatto?
Yes.
Mayor Walsh?
Yes.
With that being said, I'd make a motion. Mr. Mayor?
Okay, 7A 9, 10, 12, and 13.
Yes.
Second.
Can I have a roll call, please?
Not 13, Mayor.
Not 13?
9, 10,
No, 9, 10, and 12.
9, 10, and 12. Okay. Can I have a roll call, please, Ms. Woolman?
Mrs. Clark?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Gatto?
Yes.
Mayor Walsh?
Yes. 7A11. Anybody, anything you'd like to say about 7A11?
Mayor, if I may, I just want to tell the public, as Ms. Dixell said, there was a hearing today. This, I believe this governing body is absolutely opposed to this rate hike. They are saying that it's a pass-through for some fees that they're being charged in Ocean County. And I just want to publicly thank Senator Singer, Assemblyman Rybel, Assemblyman Keene, Malone, and Dancer. I've spoken to them. They have given us their support. And I hope this time around that the BPU finds it that they don't give a rate increase. Whether it's a pass-through or not, New Jersey American Water makes a lot of profit. And just because it's a pass-through, I don't see it fit that they need to give us a rate hike. So I strongly urge my fellow governing body members to give a vote a yay, and that's all I have.
Anybody else on this? I agree with Councilman Castro. Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Can I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Clark?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Gatto?
Yes.
Mayor Walsh?
Yes. So we go right to 8A1.
Introduce 7C1.
Maybe he's going to do that after. I don't know.
Does he want to do 7C1?
For the record, will you two gentlemen introduce yourself, please?
Yes, I'm Wayne Neville, architect. My office is in West Berlin, New Jersey.
Lou Myerson. I'm with the firm of Birdsall.
Yeah, you're back up.
I don't think I'm on.
Oh, turn it
The
upside
switch
down.
on the bottom. Red light should be on.
Lou Myerson. I'm with the firm of Birdsall Services Group, and I authored the report having to do with the Global Office Building.
We got to do 7C1 first?
Yes.
We need to have a discussion real quickly on 7C1. Proposed new ABC plenary retail consumption license. What would you like us to discuss here, Ms. Schlegel?
Yes, Mayor, as a result of the census, Howell is allowed one additional plenary retail consumption license based on that census number. So we would like to put some parameters on the license with a 100-seat minimum and a minimum purchase price of $1.1 million.
Any questions by the governing body?
What was the census number? Do you know off the top of your head?
51,075.
Impressed. Okay.
Anybody in opposition moving forward?
Absolutely. I have no opposition.
I believe you have your direction.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anything else before the 8A items? The 7Bs,
Do you want to?
we don't do those, right?
Deputy Mayor, do you want to introduce the other ones first?
Well, my heart skipped a beat when I heard 1.1 million. Is that the going rate for a license? So I had to take a little break back there.
That was the most recent license sold in this area,
In this area. That's a good
neighboring
number.
town.
That's a good number. Okay. So we only got one. We were hoping for 1.5. Were we not, Ms. Schlegel?
Well, we were hoping for,
Well, we were hoping for 5. But we thought realistically we'd get 1.5.
well, we got one.
We got 1.
More than we had a year ago.
Yep.
Okay. We can live with it. When's it going on the market? Immediately?
Well, we'll prepare the proper documentation. We'll be on the next meeting.
The ordinance will be on for introduction at the June 28th meeting.
Resolution.
Sorry.
Okay. 7B1 and 2. Nothing? Second-hand dealer license for Phone Zone and Swap Shop? We need to
Next
discuss
meeting.
these?
Next meeting.
You want me to start on them? No, let's get after it. Well, maybe we should just get them out of the way. We're going to go to 9A1 first. Well, we're going to 9A1 first, just a little bit of housekeeping. We could be here a long time later on. So, 9A1. Amend Chapter 115, Criminal History Background Check. I need a council member.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to introduce ordinance number 0-11-18 on first reading by title and to order the same be published in the June 17, 2011 issue as part press, together with his notice of introduction and passage on first reading by title. And will be further considered for final passage at public hearing at a meeting of the Township Council be held on June 28, 2011, 7:30 prevailing time in the municipal building.
Can I have a second?
I'll second it, Mayor, but I have a question for clarification.
Go ahead.
Mrs. Schlegel, can you just review for me quickly what it is that we're changing here?
Okay, I'm going to let McKenna give you the particulars of the ordinance.
Okay.
We're not changing a whole lot. We're getting rid of ourselves as kind of a middleman. Right now, we're going to have the organizations obtain the fingerprints for their volunteers or their coaches, whomever it is. They'll have their own, I think it's called a VRN number.
Correct.
Which they'll, they'll submit through that. We were doing it through KidSafe. A few years ago, they stopped providing the services that we had contracted with them for, so now it's just kind of a cleanup process. And I know that we had a discussion about this, and you had raised some concerns about maybe some of the residents being able to find out via our website whether or not the coaches were licensed and who they were, as if to almost double check to make sure that the coaches that were coaching the children in town were actually fingerprinted and went through the process that they're supposed to do. Your recommendation was to have those lists that are submitted by the organizations, a link to that posted on our website, which
We feel that that would be a benefit to the township's residents so that they'll have that access. So we were going to ask the organizations to provide us with the list of everyone that's been fingerprinted. So for example, if you are a parent of someone on a, for example, a sports team and you wanted to check whether that coach is approved, you could go on to that, check the coach's name, see if it's there and if he's been approved. If you don't see it, at that point then you could go to that organization and say, this coach is not on the approved list. So I think it would absolutely be beneficial for us to put that on our website and allow residents to go to the website and access that information.
And the ordinance does require that list to be submitted to the township annually.
And that's a condition of their lease agreement,
That's
and there is
their
a
lease
penalty
agreement
clause in
and
place.
there's a penalty within this ordinance, which we didn't have before.
As well as permits.
There was a thought by, this came up at the Rec Advisory Committee meeting last week, and there was a thought that we were, in effect, turning over all of the responsibility over to the organizations to police themselves. Can you speak to that a little bit relative to what we're losing if we don't use KidSafe anymore?
Well, I think this process will allow the organizations to essentially police themselves. They're required to give us the list of those who are fingerprinted and identify them. If we post it on the website, that will act as a secondary mechanism to do that. The parents and the other organizations can check to make sure the coaches that are involved in any of the organizations are fingerprinted. And they do have to submit that to us annually.
Okay. I think that'll address most of the concerns. If not, we'll discuss it amongst the group again, and then if I have any other questions, I'll ask them separately.
Okay.
Anybody else? First, we have a second. Ms. Rowland, please read the title of the ordinance.
An ordinance of the Township of Howell amending Chapter 115 entitled Criminal History Background Check of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Howell.
Have a roll call, please.
Mrs. Clark?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Gatto?
Yes.
Mayor Walsh?
Yes. 982, establish a Department of Community Development and Land Use. Anybody from the council want to discuss this or make a motion?
Well, I don't know quite how to put this, but this, in reading this does not reflect at all what I thought it was going to be, a whole new department. I'm all for, doing something to help, especially the private citizen, not necessarily the commercial developer who knows the ropes, to get expedite a permit, having lived through many occasions having to deal with such things in 47 years in Howell Township. But I'm not sure that this is the right way to go. I'm concerned.
Okay.
I wonder if we should have some more discussion, look into it further. I mean, we didn't have a lot of discussion. This would just be one person, not another salary, but now we're talking about a whole department and changing things drastically. I'm just not ready to do it. I'm not saying it's the wrong thing, but it was I just saw this ordinance this weekend, and it's a whole big change.
Ms. Schlegel,
Yes, Mayor.
why should we introduce this right now?
Well, I think one of the goals of the governing body was to improve the customer service, streamline processes, and maximize our resources. So this is an attempt to do that.
I understand that, but it's the how.
Well, Pauline, I think you, certainly it's something that was brought up. I, for one, think it is an excellent suggestion. We hear from a lot of people through email, through phone calls, that they're getting passed to different areas. And I hear the frustration, I hear from businesses, from
I have
residents.
No problem. I agree with that 100%.
Councilwoman, let her speak.
But I think that right now, what's happening, we need to do better. And unless we have another proposal, I think we should give this a shot. I think it's an excellent idea, and I am for it.
Mayor, Mrs. Schlegel, can you give us a little overview as to how you got to this point and how did you come up with these suggestions?
Yes. I had looked at a couple different other municipalities, Brick, Manalapan, I don't know if it was Marlboro, but a couple other municipalities that had been getting some improved customer service, that have been getting some kudos in those areas, and that have made great strides in making some changes. And in talking with those municipalities, they had done something very similar. Some of them have done a hybrid. Some of them have done something totally, had done exactly like this. So there were some other things that they had done, and they were very successful. So not to reinvent the wheel, I took the positives from those communities as well as the positives that we have within our departments, engineering, construction code, land use, and combined those positives to come up with this.
I know when this was first talked about, I know we looked at one neighboring municipality, Brick, and I don't like to speak bad about them, but they clearly had similar issues in the same areas from what I was told. We spent some time talking to some of their administration, some of their businesses, some of their residents, and I could tell you a lot of the complaints that I heard that were fielded by that municipality are almost identical to the ones that we hear every day. In fact, I got a couple of phone calls along this line last week. So reading through this, again, not knowing exactly what Brick did, but having a sense of what they did, and knowing how successful that they have been in fixing their issues and readdressing those departments, I feel very confident that this is the right thing to do. I don't believe in reinventing the wheel. I think reorganizing a department with the sole goal of improving customer service and accountability for our residents and our taxpayers and our customers is vital to what we should be doing, and I think this falls right in line with that. Whether every one of these bullet points is identical to what we need to do, I'm not sure of that, but I don't know that we're going to know that unless we do it. So knowing that it can be adjusted later and modified, I think this is exactly the way we should be going.
How can it be adjusted later and modified?
We revise.
Stroke of a pen.
Yeah. Same way we do everything else.
We would do it just like we would amend any other ordinance.
Councilman DeCastro, anything?
Yes, Mayor. Let me just say, as a family-owned business in Brick Township that Deputy Mayor Gatto just spoke, I've experienced nightmares in that township prior to their changes, and I could tell you firsthand knowledge that after their mayor Acropolis made the changes, similar to like we're seeking to do, that it's 1,000% better. So I am in total favor of this. This is in the right direction for Howell Township, and I agree that we need change, and I'm going to believe that this is a step in the right direction. So I support this as well.
Believe me, I don't disagree that something needs to be done. As I said, it's been one of my complaints for the people for the last 20 years or more. It seems like a developer can get permits for 100 houses quicker than a citizen can get a roof permit or even an emergency well permit or a deck or some minor thing or a hot water heater. So I know something needs to be done. As I said, I just, when we first talked about it, I don't know, maybe it's just totally different from what I expected.
It may be throwing you a little bit also because it's probably in its entirety, the way I had to do it, is about 45 pages. When you initially had the recommendation, it was a very condensed version. That's still in here, but in order for me to incorporate it into what we have in existence, I had to modify large sections of our code. So it seems a little voluminous, but really, if you look at the parts that initially begin with the department itself, that's what you had at the last meeting. And everything else is still there. It's just integrated into that.
Well, just to give it because something needs to be done, and I don't generally acquiesce to that because sometimes something that you do is worse than nothing. But I don't think this is one of those cases. But I'll go along with the introduction and ask some more questions offline and study it some more and hopefully feel more comfortable with it before the time of public hearing. I'm okay.
Me personally, I've heard too many things in my 6 years up here. A lot of talented people, I just don't, from what I've received back through the years, is that a lot of talented people just weren't being used exactly to the best for the citizens of Howell Township. I don't know if there's any answer that you could tell me today that would be the definitive 100% the only way to do something. I am all for trying something a little different to do it better for the citizens of Howell in a more cost-efficient, timely manner. So I am willing to go along with this also, but I think it's something we need to look at closely as it evolves. Because if it does need to change, just because we did something, and this is how we originated it, doesn't mean we can't alter it down the road to make it even better. So that's my only, I mean, you know, we've done some other things in the past that we've had to amend, because we realized to amend them is what was best for the citizens of Howell Township. So I am all for this step. I do think it is a step in the right direction, but I do want to closely monitor it, and I want us to look at this every few months to see how it's going. And the residents will tell us a lot, okay? They really, truly will. We get enough emails about people being upset about certain things. So
We'll also provide the governing body with updated reports, any goals that are set, whether they've been met, any strides that we make in reducing wait times and things like that. So you'll be provided with that information.
thank you very much. Okay, can I have a member of the council?
Mayor, I make a motion to introduce ordinance number 0-11-19 on first reading by title and to order the same to be published in the June 17th, 2011 issue of the Asbury Park Press, together with notice of its introduction and passage on first reading by title, and that it be further considered for final passage after public hearing at a meeting of the Township Council to be held on June 28th, 2011 at 7:30 p.m. prevailing time in the municipal building.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Flo, will you please read the title of the ordinance?
An ordinance of the Township of Howell amending and supplementing Article 5 entitled Administrative Organization and Article 6 entitled Departments and adding Chapter 2-35 entitled Department of Community Development and Land Use and placing the Division of Engineering, Division of Land Use and Planning, and Division of Uniform Construction Code under the direction of the Department of Community Development and Land Use of the revised general ordinances of the Township of Howell.
Can I have a roll call, please, ma'am?
Mrs. Clark?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Gatto?
Yes.
Mayor Walsh?
Yes. 983, amend Chapter 223, peddling and soliciting, and Chapter 241, food handling establishments. Anybody from the governing body have any questions?
I'm going to give you a little.
Yeah.
Give me a little summation.
The recommendations came from Judah Laporta, who deals with a lot of the licensing for peddlers in the clerk's office, and it also came from Alice Cadet and Kate Andrews over at the Board of Health. There's a lot of mobile vendors out there. Our ordinance wasn't able to address them at the level that they wanted it to. And now we've taken both sections that reference the Board of Health and included them in our peddler and hawker and solicitor chapter. It's easier for them. We've changed the title, which was incorrect. It's outdated in their section. Everybody's reviewed it and seems to be happy with it. So we'll see how it works out.
Anybody from the governing body? I'm glad you're addressing this. I had a dear friend call me about 2 weeks ago. Wanted to put a hot dog stand up in front of a bunch of stores. And I said, what about the people that pay rent that sell food there? He said, why should I care about them? Okay, but we need to care about them. There's a thin line there. There's a real thin line, and we got to take care of our business owners and be cognizant of, the cost involved with running a business. So I'm glad it's being addressed. I'm glad you have recommendations from the health department in the county. Thanks for cleaning it up. Can I have a member of the governing body?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to introduce ordinance number 0-11-20 on first reading by title and order be published in the June 17, 2011 issue as Park Press, together with notice of introduction and passage on first reading by title, and that be further be considered for final passage of a public hearing. Meeting of the Township Council be held on June 28, 2011, 7:30 prevailing time in the municipal building.
Second, Mayor.
Ms. Wellman, please read the title of the ordinance.
An ordinance of the Township of Howell amending Chapter 223 entitled Peddling and Soliciting and amending Chapter 241 entitled Retail Food Handling Establishments of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Howell.
Have a roll call, please, Ms. Wellman.
Mrs. Clark?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Gatto?
Yes.
Mayor Walsh?
Yes. Okay. 8A1. Now we are going to public hearing on ordinances. (8A1) is a capital ordinance, acquisition of real property and building renovations and appropriations up to $6.9 million. Ordinance number 0-11-17, introduced and passed on first reading on 5/17/11 and published according to law, is now being taken up for further consideration and public hearing. Affidavit of publication of this ordinance in the Asbury Park Press issue of 5/20/11 is submitted as noted. A copy of the ordinance has been posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and copies are available to the general public upon request. Ms. Wellman, will you please read the title of the ordinance?
Capital ordinance providing for the acquisition of real property and building renovations and appropriating $6.9 million, therefore authorized in and by the Township of Howell in the County of Monmouth, New Jersey.
At this time, I'd like to open the meeting to the public. From anybody who would like to speak about this ordinance? First person, Michael Broderick.
Thank you, Mayor.
Name and address, please, for the record, in the mic.
Michael Broderick, business address is 3500 Route 35, Suite 7, Hazlet, New Jersey. I'm the Teamster representative for the professionals in the building here under contract, and I've come forward tonight to talk to you about the acquisition of this new facility. They are in full support of this. They work here on a day-to-day basis. Some work here on 6 days a week. They run some of the most vital areas of the township. IT department, which many of you know needs complete renovations.
I think it's perfectly fine right now. I'm not going.
But in all, they support your efforts. They support the movement over to the new building. Many of them have visited it, and unfortunately, sometimes the older buildings aren't cracked up what they need to be for now and in the future. I can only respond to you in my own time as a committeeman in Jackson Township, where I live. The first day on the job, we found out we needed a new roof on the old building, which was built in 1979, and this was in the year 2000. By the time we got done ripping the building apart, the only thing that was left was the foundation. We went from a $200,000 renovation to a $2.3 million renovation, replacing everything inside, including the walls. We look forward to assisting you in any way we can, and the group that I represent in your efforts to make this happen and make this a reality. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
James Lang. James Lang. Barbara Dixell. State your name and address, please, for the record, Barbara. Jerry. Want to make sure you're up, Jerry.
I have nothing better to do and happier to do than to fight for the citizens of Howell and spend my 52nd wedding anniversary here all day long fighting for Howell.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's just great.
52?
Yeah.
Congratulations to both of
He
you.
gets the Purple Heart.
Miss Wellman, yeah, get a proclamation for Jerry while
He gets the
while we're
Purple
on
Heart.
break later.
All right.
Let's give it up for Jerry.
Yeah, I'll clap for him, too.
And Barbara, you know I love you.
I
You know
hope you
love
do. You may not after this, but I hope you do.
Barbara.
Barbara Dixell, 62A Piazza Vittoria, Freehold, Piazza Vittoria, Freehold, New Jersey, Monmouth County, Freehold, Monmouth County. 2008, 2009, there was a sudden meltdown in all levels of the U.S. economy, and businesses failed. Major banks and businesses had to be given government loans and be bailed out. Many thousands of jobs were lost. Homes were foreclosed on at an alarming rate, and people barely were able to sustain themselves and their families. The employees in Howell had to take a mandatory 8-week furlough without pay. Their families suffered financially. Homes had to be sold or foreclosed on, and people were barely able to get by. In 2010, the state cut aid to Howell by $1.8 million, and that had a crippling effect on everyone in Howell. All Howell employees had to take every other Friday off without pay from April to November, and township offices were closed on those days. The council voted not to buy the Global building because they could not look at laying off police officers and buy the Global building per April 6, 2010 meeting. Mr. Walsh, Mrs. Clark, some of your campaign promises not to bond or make any large purchase without a public referendum, and also to stabilize taxes, protect the rural character of Howell, maintain open and accountable government, and fight for taxpayers of Howell. The winds of change. Councilman Gatto, Councilman Castro. Your campaign pledged accountable, committed, trustworthy, enhanced core municipal services, spend conservatively and reasonably, eliminate unplanned, uninformed decisions, keep Howell safe and clean and proud, preserve open space. Did you forget your promises to the citizens of Howell? March 1st, 2011, agenda under discussion. Discussion of municipal building was the only thing listed on the agenda. At the start of the meeting, I asked if there was a resolution to authorize the manager to prepare the papers for negotiations to purchase the Global building, and was told there is no resolution, and if there was, it was only a draft. Mr. Neville gave his report on our town hall versus the Global building. 4 hours later, after public comment on the Global, the council voted at 1 a.m., 4-1, to go into negotiations for the Global, and totally ignored whatever the public had to say. I was handed a completed resolution after I was told at the start of the meeting there was no resolution, it was only a draft. Very interesting. 2 days later, an addendum to the agenda showed up that had the resolution plus the council vote. How interesting. May 17th agenda, council special meeting for first reading of the ordinance to buy the Global building. Birdsall gave their 57-page report. The meeting was open to the public, and again, the council voted 4-1 in favor of the purchase, and again, totally ignored the public and our request for a public referendum to be put on the ballot in the November general election. Howell has no money. We cannot afford to buy this. June 14th, 2011, Howell Township Council Workshop Meeting. There will be a second reading and public hearing of the ordinance to buy the Global building for $6,900,000. The Global won a tax appeal and their taxes were lowered. It has been up for a tax sale in the past. It has never been able to keep tenants as they keep moving out. Something is wrong. The roof, heating, air conditioning has to be replaced. The outside walkways have to be replaced because they're all broken up. The meeting room has very limited seating, much less than our town hall. The handicap entrance is hard to maneuver. Driving there on Route 9 south with 2,500 cars per hour is impossible due to traffic volume. The building is 2 times more than the space Howell Township needs for their use, and a tax rateable will come off the market. Howell said it is going to rent space. Yes, our town hall is 100 years old, but it is still a viable, workable building that needs repair. But every council has neglected it. I have a copy of the Global deed that says $44,510.43 mortgage payment has to be made every month until May 1st, 2018. The deed is for $5,317,101.40. ZJ Realty Lakewood owns the building. If they can't keep tenants and they've already been on for a tax sale and they won a tax appeal at one time and they may not be able to keep making payments, why are we bailing them out? And buying this nightmare for $6,900,000 and possibly putting Howell in financial danger? The $6,900,000 is the same money from a bond that was called to surplus from the Pinnacle site money. What are we getting ourselves into? Why are we using Pinnacle money to bail out Global? Let them go till we get the building for nothing, or let them go bankrupt. Where is Howell going to put the tiny tot care? There is no room, and there is a question of safety. There are 700 tax appeals in Howell now of residents who are in deep financial stress. Mayor Walsh and council, the citizens of Howell elected you and put their faith and trust in you. Mayor Walsh, Mr. Gatto, Mr. Nicastro, Mrs. Clark, you are the governing body for all the people of Howell. You should not sit there and say, I want it. I am in favor of it, and I want everyone out of this building. Being elected is not about I want it. It is about your duty to Howell citizens first and always. Mayor, Mrs. Clark, please hold to your campaign promise and put the purchase of the Global building on for public referendum for the November general election. Do not vote on the Global tonight. Mr. Gatto, Mr. Nicastro, you pledged to eliminate unplanned, uninformed decisions. Spend conservatively and responsibly. Was that just campaign junk? Did you forget the promise of the oath you swore to for the citizens of Howell? Councilwoman Smith, bless you. It is my opinion that you're the only one up there who is acting in the best interest of the citizens of Howell and is against the global purchase due to the economic climate in Howell and the United States. I am asking the citizens of Howell to come to all meetings. Let your voices be heard. Let the council know we're watching them. We need to have citizens demand for a public referendum in November election. The government by the people, for the people, shall not perish from this earth. I have deep concern for the future and the financial stability of Howell. Mr. Walsh, you are not the king with your court. Mr. Walsh, Mr. Gatto, Mr. Nicastro, Mrs. Clark, if you vote for the purchase of the Global and ignore the citizens of Howell, you will have violated the public who elected you and put their faith and trust in you. And one rumor that's going around town is the reason we're voting for this and fast-tracking this building tonight is that if a freeholder, who I won't name, gets voted for the assembly, you'll be offered the seat.
Thank you, Mrs. Dixon. Thank you very much. Let's keep it down. Everybody, let's keep it down.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to take a 5-minute recess, please.
We're taking a recess, folks.
Let's
go. Take the conversations outside, please.
Mr. Walsh.
Hold on. What we say? Ms. King, you want to read this?
Do you want me to read it?
Mayor, just so that everybody's aware, during tonight's meeting, under Chapter 2-5 of our code book, subsection 11, subsection 13, decorum by persons. Any persons making impertinent or slanderous remarks or who shall become boisterous while addressing the council shall forthwith be barred from further audience before the council by the presiding officer, which is you, unless permission to continue or again address the council be granted by a majority vote of the council. I would ask that anybody that comes up here, whether you think it's a rumor or not, those remarks are uncalled for. So I would ask that everyone that comes up and they speak maintain a level of decorum that you would expect.
I hope we all understand. It's one thing to have an opinion about something or to state something, but to come up here and lie and make insinuations that aren't true, okay? Number one, there is no contract to buy the global building for $6.9 million. So please, anybody who states it, it's not true. Two,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Councilwoman?
I was just going to ask,
Two, there were no 8-week furloughs last year, were there?
No, I believe Mrs. Dixell may have said the year prior,
yes, she did.
Okay,
2009.
okay. Now, everybody, I will stop the meeting and ask for people to leave before we start up again. Just be respectful. In this town for years and years, this is the kind of things that have went on. I'm going to read a letter I got today that just disgusts me. And it came to the governing body today. All right? An email came to us today. Dear Mr. Mayor, I would like to bring to your attention the Howell Community Message Board, which appears to the public at large as representative of the Township of Howell. The administrator and others have posted or allowed to be posted hateful rants by people who have a decidedly hateful opinion of conservative views as well as people of faith. Additionally, opposing views are not permitted. To be belittled by the administration through name-calling, etc., the usual bullying technique. We have attempted to appeal to Mrs. Barada in the past. We get nothing but nasty responses. A group of us are concerned that the use of the name Howell in her community message board implies or has the implicit permission of Howell Township, and based on this, we are exploring a possible lawsuit against the township for, amongst other things, institutionalized discrimination against people of faith, specifically the anti-Christian animus that is unabashedly expressed on this website. While our personal views may be hateful and distasteful, we would agree that she has a right to express her personal views, as ignorant as they are, but we believe that by using the name of Howell Township in her website, she is now representing the entire community, and that hate speech cannot be tolerated as representative of all the Howell Township taxpayers and residents. We would consider no further action if the name of the township is removed from the site. Respectfully yours, the Citizens for a Better Howell. And whoever did it put underneath, I am remaining anonymous now for fear of reprisals. If and when we retain the council, the township will receive notice from Mr. Gibbs's law firm. Okay? Now, last year, anonymous letters were put into people's mailbox with all kinds of anti-Semitic things down by Southern School. I mean, don't we all have respect and decency in us without making false accusations and trying to slander other people? If you can't do it, I will stop who's ever speaking. And I'll hear, oh, he wants to stop the public from speaking. No, I don't. I just let Mrs. Dixell say what she wanted to say, even though she said some blatant lies in what she said. Okay? Please, be respectful. Be respectful of the governing body. Be respectful of the other people in this room. Be respectful of the citizens of Howell. And be respectful of Howell. I mean, this town has been getting a black eye for years and years and years. And it's the same groups of people that have been doing it. We have not made a decision yet. I think you all know where I stand, so I don't want to mislead anybody. Okay? But these are decisions. But if you can't be respectful, leave the room. If not, I will have you removed from the room. Somebody is asked to speak because they must leave. The first person we call up is Josette McLaren. Okay? Now, before anybody says I let her speak out of turn, she respectfully asked, because she has to go home to her children, whether she could speak. So I've respectfully said, yes, you may. Okay?
Thank you.
All right?
Excuse me, before you go on, could I please ask? Actually, I think I know the answer, but just to make perfectly clear, there's no contract with anybody. There's no contract between anybody with anybody for any purchase at this time, is there?
No, there is not.
Thank you, I thought. Want to make that clear, that's all.
Councilwoman Smith, with all due respect, you knew.
That's what I said.
Okay, so you didn't have to ask the question. You knew that
But
there
I
is
wanted to
no
make it clear.
contract. Okay? So, go ahead, ma'am.
Josette McLaren, 59 Gristmill Road. I just wanted to state that I do oppose the purchase.
You got to speak into the mic.
I oppose the purchase of the global building. My one concern is if you are able to fill the remaining parts of the building that Township doesn't. And if we do not fill it, is that going to be a burden on the taxpayers?
Well,
that's a concern.
Okay, and we do have many feelers out there, you know, we've spoken about this for a couple of years. We would like to see our assembly office in there. We've asked Senator Singer to put an office in there. We have asked Congressman Smith if he would consider having an office in there. We've had meetings with the Board of Ed. I've asked the Board of Education if they would consider moving into there. I envision it as someplace that could be where a resident of Howell Township can go and get any of the needs that they have from any of the different bodies in Howell Township. So there are a lot of inquiries out there. This has been a long fact-finding mission. A lot of reports have been done. So different things.
I think it's great that you do have inquiries, but hopefully you will get a yes, because inquiries are, there's no guarantees. And that's it.
Okay.
Thank you for letting me speak early. I
Thank you
appreciate
very
it.
much. Suzanne Weigengruber.
Suzanne Weitengruber, 25 Princeton Drive. I have a couple of questions about clarification information that was given last time, and I just want to make sure that I wrote it down correctly. When we addressed the money that was left in the original 2005 bond, I believe I was told that it was canceled to surplus in 2008. Is that?
Hold on. What is the question? What is the direct question?
I did. I asked you a direct question. I believe I was told that the money was canceled to surplus in 2008. Did I understand that correctly?
We will look into that and adjust that. Was the money?
Well, it was answered
hold
during
on,
the meeting.
I'm writing it down. Was the money canceled to surplus in 2008? I'm sure you probably know the answer.
No,
but-
Mr. Walsh, please, if we're going to be respectful, let me ask the questions.
Cancel
It's
to
public
surplus.
comment. And during the last time, we asked about the funding because there was a question about, was that money committed to Pinnacle? And if memory serves me correct, and I did review the tape, unless there was a miscommunication, I believe it was said that the 2008, what was left in the 2005 bond that actually had been bonded for, that money had been canceled to surplus, and that was part of the now $6.9 million, as well as there was still part of an improvement authorization that had not been borrowed.
Okay.
Perhaps the finance person could.
Not at this time, thank you. What else?
Okay, what is the resolution 137A? We saw it on the agenda, but it's nowhere in your resolutions, and it's nowhere in your minutes. It was part of the budget hearing. Do we know what 137A is?
No, you're asking me this
See, this is where we come, because that has impact on this, so that's why we would like
Okay. Would
to
somebody
answer.
please go find us Resolution 137A?
It was part of the budget hearing.
To the best of my recollection, it's the budget amendment.
And what was that budget amendment? It's nowhere. The question is, does it impact on this?
Okay.
We definitely could provide a 137A.
Okay.
Does it impact at all on Global? What was the budget amendment? Do we know what it was?
Why don't we just let her get an opportunity to get it, and then we'll get that to you.
I don't know either.
That was the budget, on the budget hearing, was the day of the budget hearing, Mr. Tony.
Mayor, we would have to see the resolution that's being referred to.
I would love to see, there is no resolution.
In order to, there is a resolution, and we need to be able to review that resolution before we would answer
When
appropriately.
we take a break, can somebody get a copy of that resolution?
Absolutely.
Okay. Next.
Okay. Some procedural things concerning this ordinance. As you know, the MLUL allows for municipalities to have capital improvement plans approved by the planning board. Our planning board has that, our ordinances have that. And so, as such, when you have a change to the capital improvement plan, it is supposed to go to the planning board, which then under state law has 45 days jurisdiction to review and give you an opinion. Now, their opinion could be, no, it's not a good idea, and yes, you can still come back and say, well, we're going to do it anyway, and fly in their face. However, in reviewing all the planning board agendas, I see nowhere where this ordinance was referred to the planning board for review. Now, some people think that planning board's master plan only has to do with the land use element. But the fact was, in 1994, and I believe, Mrs. Smith, you were on the council, it was one of the first councils, that the master plan was redone under this form of government. When you have a new form of government, it's like dropping a new town on the planet. Everything has to be redone, including the master plan. And the master plan contains 12 elements. Among them, the community facilities plan and the historic plan. The 1994 master plan includes this building in both the community facilities plan and the historic plan under the master plan. The 4 revisions, and I took time because this is on your website, and I took the time to go through the 200 and some pages, the 1994 plan, make sure I wasn't missing anything. I took the time to go through the 4 revisions that are listed on there. Not once has the community facilities plan been amended. It calls for this building here under both community facilities and historic. Under the historic plan, not once since 1994 has it been amended to take this building out of it, and it is listed as part of the master plan. There's a gross deficiency tonight in that the master plan has not been revised, and this capital ordinance was not sent to the planning board to review as required by state law and your own ordinances. Quite honestly, I went out and I checked because I wanted to check. I know you said you were going to revise the capital plan, and you threw those little words in to the resolution you passed one night. But of course, we can't find that resolution anywhere, and that's why I ask about 137A. We can't find that resolution on the minutes. I can't find it on the list of resolutions that amending the capital plan. The law specifically says without amending the capital plan, you cannot pass this. And this ordinance, I looked in your financial documents, thought maybe somebody just didn't post the corrected documents to the website. The capital improvement plan of your approved budget, as well as the one out on the board for the public to review, does not include this project.
Okay.
Under those laws, you cannot act tonight.
We will look into that, thank you.
I also want
If I
to,
may clarify, The adopted budget, the capital budget of the adopted budget reflects this project.
It's not out on the on board. How is it?
That's
And
the,
it's not
that's
on
the
the board.
introduced budget.
And Mayor, the resolution that's being referenced is in the minutes. However, the council has not approved those minutes as of yet.
Okay. All right, so,
It still hasn't gone to
hold
the
on,
planning board.
hold on. Mr. Filiaccia, so the capital project was addressed in the,
It was addressed in the adopted budget.
it was addressed in the adopted budget, okay. It was addressed. And Mrs. Schlegel, it was.
Yes, the resolution, I believe 137A that Mrs. Weitengruber is referencing is in the minutes. However, those minutes have not yet been approved by
Okay.
council and been released.
It is not, just so you know, it's not listed
Okay.
on any agenda, it's not listed in any list of resolutions. In fact, the number doesn't even exist.
Okay.
And that's why we ask it. The only way we know that there was some kind of resolution is that it's on the hearing of the amendment on the budget.
Next.
However, how is the public supposed to know? If you had a budget hearing, don't you think you should have had the capital plan out there? I checked it tonight. You still have the old capital plan out there. There's nothing on the board
We
that
had numerous
reflects this.
budget meetings, okay?
I'm talking about the one where you adopted the budget amendment just a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
It's still out there,
All right, but-
and the wrong thing is on the website.
Okay, but we had numerous budget meetings.
I'm talking about, please, let me say it once more, the budget amendment and budget hearing you had, I believe, 2 weeks ago. I forget what the date was, 5/7/5/24 maybe? Okay, that is what I'm talking about, Mr. Walsh.
Okay.
That is the one I'm talking about.
Next.
But this has not gone to the planning board for review. And every one of you has sat on the planning board at some time, so every one of you knows that it needed to go to the planning board.
Do you have that statute number, Mrs. Weitengruber?
I can get it for you, just like you can get me the resolution.
Do you
But
have it
Mr.
now?
Nacastro...
Do you have it now?
Mr. Nacastro...
It's a simple
you
yes or no.
served on the planning board.
I still
can go
serve.
look it up. Well, then you know what the law says. Look up your own ordinance.
I believe it says may, so that's
No,
why
it
I'm
says
asking
shall.
you. If
Okay.
you could produce.
It says shall. Look in your own ordinances,
All right,
okay?
Listen.
I do want to ask a question about the money. That since it was represented that the rest of the bonded money was canceled to surplus, and that's what's being
You already
used
asked that question.
to be global.
Was the money
What-
canceled to surplus in 2008?
Can I finish my sentence? Thank you. Since that was stated, and it was finished to global, and there is an improvement authorization left, we now know that there is an agreement of sale for Pinnacle, and that there is an actual cash there now in the Pinnacle ordinance to buy Pinnacle. There is still an improvement authorization. Are we going to need to borrow money to get to Pinnacle, or this money that is in capital surplus that was represented actually was from the Pinnacle money we're now using to buy Global?
There is no agreement for sale for Pinnacle. We have spoken numerous times with the state. We actually even had a meeting with county representatives on Monday.
Is
Okay.
Mr. Bathgate
Hold
lying?
on. Hold on. Okay? We had a meeting with the county on Monday. Okay? And we have been talking over the last few years about them buying harms from us and us using that money to purchase Pinnacle. But there is no contract right now to purchase Pinnacle. That is not a true statement. Okay?
Mr. Bathgate has a letter into the town, in the town's correspondence, that says there is an agreement to sale, and he's asking for return of the bond because of the
Hold
agreement to
on.
sale.
What letter is that?
There's a letter in your correspondence.
Where?
It's not in my correspondence.
Well, it actually was
Do you have a
dated
copy of it?
December. Yeah, I posted it on the website.
Could you?
I've not
could
seen
you-
it.
Could
Well.
you provide me with a copy of it personally?
Where did you get
Absolutely.
it?
It was mailed to me anonymously. Just like your letter was mailed to you anonymously.
Oh, my God.
It's on Mr. Bathgate's letterhead. Are you telling us that the letter's
Oh,
a
my
forgery?
God.
Are you telling us the letter's a
I'm telling you, I've
Hold
never
on,
seen
hold
it.
on, hold on, hold on, hold on.
You get things anonymously,
Hold on.
Mr. Walsh.
Hold on. Hold on. It got mailed to you anonymously, a letter that we don't have.
You don't have this letter from December?
Hold on.
From Mr. Bathgate?
You just heard Deputy Mayor say he doesn't have the letter. You just heard the councilman say he don't have the letter. And no, I don't have the letter.
You don't-
Where did you get it,
You
ma'am?
don't have a letter from
Ma'am.
Mr. Bathgate asking for the return of his bond?
No, they don't.
Mrs. Weitengruber, a very simple question. Where did you get the letter?
Sent to me anonymously, just like a lot of things get
You
sent to
teach
me
ethics,
anonymously.
don't you?
I doubt, but no, I teach municipal finance
You
administration.
teach ethics, and you are in possession of a letter that we don't have, and you won't tell us where you got it?
I'm telling you, I got it
That's
anonymously.
a bad joke, ma'am.
Well, I think your anonymous letter is a bad joke.
It's not an anonymous letter, it was emailed to us.
Okay, your anonymous email is a bad joke, too.
Okay?
Mr. Walsh,
That is-
Mr. Bathgates is saying
Hold
there's
on,
an agreement
hold
to
on, I'm
sale.
not done yet.
How can we
I'm not
discuss a
done
letter
yet.
that we don't have?
Yeah, I'm not done yet. Mr. Slagle, if it's the will of the governing body, I want police chief brought up on this tomorrow. I want to know what letter this is, where this letter came from, where she got it, okay? I spoke to Mr. Bathgate once at a breakfast in the last year. I don't think he's been in a meeting in the last year.
Nobody said he came to a meeting.
Oh, hold on. But I want this looked into. Do I have governing bodies?
I have a big concern that a member of the public has some correspondence that we're supposed to set a policy decision on that I don't have a copy of. I'm very concerned as to how that could be.
Copy of it.
Councilwoman Smith,
Well, we'll
does
see
it
if we can
bother
get you a copy.
I don't have a copy of it, but did you raise, is that what you? I have it right here. Would you ask her to look at it?
I can't respond to a letter that I have not received personally. I
Well,
don't know anything about it.
Mr. Gatto, that's disturbing if you hadn't received a letter, because this letter is saying there's an agreement for sale.
Was the
and
letter addressed to
obviously
the governing body?
The finances,
The letter was addressed to the governing
the
body.
finances.
Excuse me, do we have the letter?
Let's just get the letter.
Do we have the letter? I don't have it on me.
Well, wouldn't
The-
it be to the governing body?
Where did you get it?
finances-
Hold on.
You asked me. I told you. It was mailed to me anonymously. I get a lot of anonymous mail. Believe me.
That's,
Mr. Gatto, I find it disturbing
go to the
because
men's room.
you have to make a decision on finances, and this letter seems to indicate, and Mr. Bathgate is certainly
I
an
don't
attorney.
find it disturbing at all to
Can I
be able
finish,
to make
Mr.
a
Gatto? Mr. Bathgate, I have found to be, a person who represented the Board of Ed when I served on it. I don't think unless you're saying that maybe this letter is a forgery.
Do you
I'm
know
not
the
saying
letter's
anything. I'm
addressed to the
telling you, I
governing body?
don't have
Okay.
a copy of the letter. You
Mr.
can read into it however you would like.
Can I finish my
have
sentence and I'll tell you why it's
can't.
disturbing?
No, you can't. You can wait until I'm finished, and then you can pick it up again. I'm telling you, all I'm telling you is I don't have a copy of the letter. I don't know anything about Mr. Bathgate's request. I know that we are under no obligation to buy anything with Pinnacle.
There's no
I
agreement
don't-
to sale.
Can I just ask, I just need, please, I know everyone's very interested. I know, I can't hear a thing when you're talking. I really can't. I want to hear everything. I want to hear everybody. And when people start shouting in the back and interrupting, I cannot hear. So I just ask, please, everyone's going to have their opportunity. Everyone can come up and talk as long as they want. Just please be respectful. I want to hear what the deputy mayor says. I want to hear what Mrs. Weitengruber says. I can't hear. Thank you.
Is there a copy of it available so we can put this to rest
Not
right
on
now?
me, if somebody else might
Does a
have
member
some.
of the public have a copy of the letter? Could I trouble you to please bring the copy of the letter up here so that I could see it? Let's handle these issues one at a time, and let's take them one at a time. You're
May I
asking...
finish my sentence?
Hang on. You brought up an issue. Before we go on to the next issue, let's get one thing resolved. Is there a member of the public that is willing to give me a copy of the letter? Okay. We should be done discussing this letter.
Okay.
I don't have a copy of it.
The only reason
It
I bring it
hasn't
up,
been
Mr.
addressed
Gatto.
to the administration. I don't know anything about its existence. We can talk about a letter until midnight, but unless we
I'm
have
not going to
it-
talk about the letter. Let me
Okay,
just
so we
finish
go
my
on
one
to the
sentence.
next issue?
My concern is that we have one pot of money and perhaps we have two requirements for it. And that is why I question Mr. Gatto, not to give you a hard time or anything, but I really do want to understand that if the money in the Pinnacle bond has been canceled to capital surplus, and that capital surplus, 6.9 million of the 6,984,000 is being appropriated for this ordinance, and an individual is making a representation that there's an agreement for sale, then the question becomes, are we this pot of money being
Okay, hold on.
required to do two different purposes?
Hold on.
So that was a question.
Is there any agreement for sale right now for Pinnacle?
No,
No. Are we under any obligation right now to purchase anything with Pinnacle?
no.
Regardless of what this letter says, Is there any other way that we can answer that question for you?
No, I just want you to be aware that it appears that this pot of money is
I
being
would,
spoken
I
for
would
twice.
love to see the documentation. I see a resident out there who says she has it in her hand and has refused to bring it up here.
Okay.
I can't do any more than what I just did.
Would it be helpful if we saw it?
One other thing I just want to bring up about Global is I know there's been representation about a daycare going in. Daycare is 109 pages of regulations.
Who represented the daycare? Is there a daycare going to Global?
I believe there was discussion.
Yes.
There was a discussion.
Yes.
Okay, did Al Berger, does he have a daycare in there?
No, he does not.
Who owns the Global building right now?
ZJ Realty.
Okay.
There is 109 pages of regulations that you need to comply with. I don't know that the governing body could comply for that site. It is very site-specific, and I know this has been considered one of the things that will help make money for the building. The program we had in the past was a part-time, income-qualified program. It wasn't open to everyone. I'm not sure that we should be in the business of competing with township businesses. There's several daycares now. I know that some of the full-time programs and even part-time programs are struggling, even within some of the private schools, because of the economy. So I just don't think that this is an appropriate place. If that's what's going into your thinking in Global, I do not think we should be competing, and I think you would have a difficult time qualifying at that building at this point.
Thank you for that direction.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, just to have clarification from Mrs. Gruber, Article 4, Capital Improvement Program and Project Review that she's talking about, 4055D29, the word is may. I have it in front of me. The governing body may, so you may just want to review that,
Well,
that again.
Mr.
I'm sure
Nicastro,
it's
as
just an
long as
oversight.
I've lived
but
here, it has been reviewed by the governing by the planning board.
Your
And I would
statement was it
question-
shall and it has to. And I'm telling you, the
Well, I
law
would
that you
question
quoted,
why-
municipal land use law that you quoted, you misquoted wrong. That's all.
Well, I would question why you wouldn't give it to the planning board. It's your hand-picked planning board. They'd probably come up with the same decision.
Thank you. Now, you handpicked some of them.
None of the ones that are here now.
It was eventful. Petra Murray.
I would like to follow up on that. Are we, no, you made a statement about action you wanted to have taken.
Listen, I wanted,
There
I
will
want
be
to turn it over to the chief.
there will be a full investigation on the release of proprietary
I
information.
want to turn it over to the chief. That's all there is to it. How somebody's getting information that's coming to the governing body that we haven't looked at yet, and that they're getting in their hands. I don't believe for 1 second that
No, I
it was
would
an
like-
anonymous letter in the mail.
I would like to know if there's a letter addressed to the governing body and the governing body hasn't received it.
I do not believe that the letter in question has been
It's not addressed to the
addressed to the
governing body.
governing body.
Okay.
And actually, you're not even copied on the letter.
So there is a letter.
All right, keep it down back there.
I have the letter for good reason. There's a process we follow.
There will be an
Wait,
investigation on
but why
how
would I
the
give it to you? It's not addressed to you.
I'm okay. I am okay. I am perfectly fine. I want to know how letters are ended up in people's hands. I'd like the chief to look into it. The rest of the governing body said they did. Please turn it over to the chief tomorrow, ma'am. Okay?
I'll take care of it, thank you.
Petra.
Petra Murray, Church Road, Howell. This is not anything specific, very emotional. Someone commented that councils make sweeping changes with lasting effects. I'm not saying this council, I don't know what council, I'm not even 100% sure it was Howell, but I think it was Howell. A school was built when, I don't know. The council people eventually moved out of the area. The school ended up not being needed, being unnecessary, and the town was left with a mess to clean up the expense.
Can I say something to you about that, ma'am, though? The governing body had nothing to do with the schools being built. That's the Board of Education.
Well, I know, but it was somehow it was connected, and I was not blaming anybody. I
Okay.
wasn't trying to make another point.
Okay.
And it could have been in 1950. I didn't know when, and I didn't care when. That wasn't the issue. But the point was, my little notes here, too often this sort of thing can be the outcome. I'm sure that that council did what they thought was best, or the Board of Education, or whoever it was, what they thought was best, as I'm sure you're trying to do what you think is best. But you're representing all of us in this matter. And we're not just talking about widening a roadway or painting something or changing a doorway. We're talking about destroying our town's heart. Some of you have been here a very short time, yet you're prepared to tear apart our town center. And some of you will undoubtedly move out of the area, just as in that other situation, and we too will then be left with whatever mess. A building that is half empty or whatever that is. Our town will be splintered. This complex has problems, we all know that, but this is the devil we know. And there is a lot of knowledge in that phrase. We know what has to be done here. We know what money we have to work with. And we, the people, want to keep our picturesque, historic, and majestic town center. Almost everything is here. And tearing us apart limb by limb will be disastrous. If you're truly representing the town of Howell, you will let the town people of Howell vote on this incredibly important issue. I, for one, do not understand your resistance to a public vote. I also do not understand your haste. This building is not falling down tomorrow. We don't have to make a decision today or any time this summer or anything else, but it would be nice to have a decision, of course. We deserve the opportunity of being allowed to vote on this vital issue. You talk about respect. Please respect the town and let us decide what you want to do, what we shall do with the heart of our town. Somebody else mentioned, and this has been mentioned before, are we going to have Christmas tree lightings in the Global parking lot? Will our children sleigh ride out into Route 9? Will our 9/11 memorial just be ignored and the people forgotten and everything it stood for forgotten? This is history. This is not an office building per se. This is a campus, like a college campus, like anything else. We've got everything nearby except for the tax office. Things can be, we haven't even looked at other alternatives. We have just, you wanted the Global, so we looked at it with that focus, with those blinders on. How do we get the Global? How do we compare the Global to the Township? We need to look at alternatives and at least be allowed, postpone this decision until we come up with these alternatives with decent time frame. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, no, for the record, I just want to say that alternatives have been talked about for years and years and years. Okay, this isn't something that came about. You know, we heard about it 3 days ago, and we're making a decision on it today. These things have been talked about in this town for 20 to 30 years, and the last 10 many times. Okay? When I first came on the governing body 6 years ago, there were 4 plans given to me of complexes they wanted to build next door in the parking lot. You know, well, ma'am, you know, it's just that this has been talked about for a long time. Okay? It's just not fair for anybody to say that this popped up just recently and is being done right now. Okay? We're going to vote on this tonight. I will have no part. I will have to be overruled if we're not going to vote on this tonight. Okay? I've sat through a lot. I've read hundreds of pages of reports, had hundreds of hours worth of meetings. I am tired of the slanderous, venomous remarks coming from people. I'm sick of it. I really am. This stuff has to end in this town, for the town's sake. For the town's sake. Anytime a decision gets made that some people don't agree with, and a lot of it is politically motivated, okay? All kinds of hatred and venom come through people's lips. Oh, for the record, there is no contract on Pinnacle. Yes, we have had numerous conversations since I've been mayor, of various ways to purchase the Pinnacle property. We have met with the state, we have met with the county. So, yes, this governing body has an interest, if we could, owning the Pinnacle property. Okay? There is no contract. There's no contract on this building. The Global building. It started a few years ago when the gentleman who owns it called the manager's office and requested to have a meeting. And he's not my relative or my wife's relative. He's a gentleman that owned a building. Okay? And this building has been discussed to be bought in the past by former governing bodies to be the town hall. So this is nothing new that just popped up a couple days ago. But I am tired. I wish everybody would be less hateful and venomous. I mean, it's sad. It really is. I didn't want to read that letter that was emailed to me today. That broke my heart when I received that email. And I'm sure people are going to say I know who it was, or I wrote it myself. I'm sure out in the hallway stuff like that will be said. I don't know who it was. Okay? It broke my heart. And it is something to worry about, how the Township of Howell, how its name is being used. Okay? I wish we were in a better light. And a decision of a governing body doesn't make a town something. I mean, things evolve. But what's being said by people who supposedly care about this town, is just sad. So, Ken Coffey.
Ken Coffey, Hampton Road, Howell. Good evening, everybody. We're just talking about the ordinance now, or we?
Just about the ordinance right
Okay.
now, please, sir.
In reference to the ordinance, I'm not sure that I have all the information that I should have. Specifically, Section 2. Yeah, the
Keep it
last.
down out there, please.
The last sentence where it talks about contracts, which you addressed, but plan specifications or requisitions on file. Do we?
Or what,
do the-
sir?
What?
Or what, sir?
It's read the ordinance. It's in Section 2. You want me to read it again?
Yes.
Okay. It's the last sentence. All are shown on and in accordance with contracts, plans, specifications, or requisitions, therefore on file with or through the township clerk, as finally approved by the governing body of the township. And my question is, do these documents exist? And what? I didn't hear.
We've had reports done, but no.
What?
There is no contract.
We know about the contract, you addressed that, but what about the rest of this stuff? The plans, the specifications,
Nothing is on file yet.
or requisitions?
We have,
It says as finally approved by the governing body. We haven't approved anything yet.
Okay. All right, that's fine.
You're not missing anything.
Okay. And second part of the question is, what is the difference between this ordinance and the resolution that was passed back some time ago, authorizing negotiation and, execution of a contract? What does this do that resolution didn't do?
This ordinance puts the funding in place. If we want to purchase the building, then the funding is there. It's kind of like you're looking at a house to buy. You're not going to really look at a house until you have a mortgage commitment. Here's the money. If we decide not to buy the building, then we cancel the ordinance. It puts the money in place. We can't.
Okay, that's it. It
yeah.
doesn't authorize us to
Nope,
buy.
nothing else. Just puts the money in place.
All right, so If and
A
when
separate vote will be needed to buy.
a vote or an ordinance.
An ordinance.
Okay, fine.
We'll have to vote on an ordinance, yes.
Okay. All right, and most important question I have, you know, I should wait till later, but I might forget. Every morning when I get up, my grandkids are watching SpongeBob. So I wonder, is there going to be a Mayor Bob program on Howell TV?
You know, I've been entertaining kids for years.
I know. Thanks.
Thanks, Ken. Karen Molino. All right, public comment, okay. Would anybody else like to speak on this ordinance? Kurt? Okay, hold on, I just want to take 30 seconds. Anybody else would like to speak on this ordinance? I'm going to give you an opportunity to sign up now. If you'd like- All right, let's go.
Could we, I would just like to acknowledge publicly my receipt of the letter.
All right, let's go. If you have to have a conversation, take it outside. Deputy Mayor would like to say something.
A member of the public during the last break presented me with a copy of the letter. It appears to have something to do with releasing a performance bond. It does not make any reference to anything where we have an agreement to purchase the property. It is addressed to Bruce Davis, Township Clerk. There are several CCs on it, of which no elected official is listed on that.
I need to take a minute. Hold on.
Can I?
And none of us received it.
Okay, please sit down.
Yes, it does say that.
Can I clarify? Because this is clearly causing a lot of confusion.
And rightly so.
Except that we adopted a resolution last year authorizing execution of an agreement for sale, which was part of an initial settlement attempt with respect to the Pinnacle property. The resolution was on the agenda, the agreement was attached to it, the funding was going to come from different sources, state, county, and some portion, a minor portion was going to come from us, if and only if we could obtain the funding from the state and county. If we were unable to do that, the agreement for sale expired. This is not a secret. We did this last year. This is the agreement that Mr. Bathgate is referencing, the agreement which has since expired by its own terms. As of right now, the parties have not renegotiated the terms of the agreement, have not executed a new agreement. What we're doing is trying to attempt to, I guess, get alternative funding. That's it. There's no agreement. This is not a surprise. This is something that we we executed last year.
I believe
Everybody,
we
it was.
talked about it on the 17th.
Oh, we talked about it on the 17th.
correct.
We talked about it last year. This is not a secret. When somebody is requesting the release of a bond, it goes to the clerk, who then forwards it to the engineering department. Mayor and council does not get a copy of the correspondence. The resolution then for authorizing the release of the bond is then placed on the agenda at the next council meeting. Before I authorized the resolution for the release of the bond, I wanted to make sure it was something that we should be doing in light of the litigation. And having checked with our counsel who's representing us, it's fine. But it's not on tonight's meeting. I'm just curious as to how everybody had the letter, since I thought it was only...
sent to Mrs.
I know, I
Lightfoot.
just find that interesting, since it was
We
only
will
between...
conduct that internal investigation on it.
But just for we're clear, there is no agreement for sale of the Pinnacle property. Let's leave that to rest.
Mrs. Molino, please keep it down.
I got a phone call, apparently somebody had seen on the internet.
Who called you?
Mrs. Sully, who somebody called her. I don't know who called her and said that it was on there, and she said, "Did you get this letter?" I looked through my packet. I didn't get the letter. That was it.
Okay.
So now you know.
Curtis Vislaki. Good evening, Mr. Vislaki.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Curtis Vislaki, 77 Sunnyside Road. I haven't had an opportunity to actually be at a lot of these meetings, but I have had the privilege to watch some of them on the internet. And I just want to thank you for the job you're all doing. I know it's a tough decision you're facing right now. I know the situations that you're all looking at. I don't believe for 1 minute there has been anything trying to be hidden or swept under the rug by this council or administration. Everything has been wide out in the open. Deputy Mayor Gatto has stated numerous times over and over again the amount of money he's willing to spend. I don't understand why people constantly question the folks that we elected to represent us. I find it shocking. And
Mrs. Weingruber, if you can't keep it down, please leave the building.
whether you agree or disagree, that's part of our rights as citizens. Having been in the global building, because I went to Kessler's physical therapy, and I walked the building, I didn't see what I read on numerous bulletin boards, that the place was deteriorating and stuff like that. I just saw that it really needed some good housekeeping. It needed some, cleaned up and renovated. But inside, the building's nice. I even asked the folks who operated the Kessler, I said, I hear you're moving. He goes, yeah. And I said, well, why? He goes, well, we would stay here, but we heard they're selling the building, or they're trying to sell the building. I said, oh, and it says, plus the philosophy is for this corporation to have their own standalone facilities. But other than that, there was no reason for them they were going to move out because the building's crumbling. So that was false, because I've asked personally the folks that work there, and I've seen people that work there, and the building has a lot of activity going on. So I know it's being used. It's not like a building that's just vacant. But when I looked at the economies of scale and seeing that we can condense all our municipal services into one building, it just makes sense. It makes economic sense. I don't understand why it would not make economic sense. And if this council decides to move forward with the purchase, it doesn't exclude this property from not being used from the residents. Oh, just because the municipal facilities moved to the global building, kids can't sleigh ride anymore? That's ludicrous. I don't buy that at all. There be plenty of kids sleigh riding, plenty of people using this facility. I think you've all stated it's not in your plan to tear down this facility, maybe to mothball it or to close it up until something could be decided. I know there's a historical aspect to it. Everybody understands there's always a sentimental feeling towards something, and change is always foreign, and people don't like change, especially if they've been here for a long time. But change is a fact of life. We're born, we grow old. It's just the way it is. And I think this is a good change. I've talked to some of my friends and neighbors saying, what would you think if the municipal building moved to the Route 9 global building? They said it'd be great. It'd be easier for me to get there. I mean, I've been on Route 9, and people are saying, traffic, how bad is the traffic going to be? I'm telling you, anybody who's lived in this town right now knows the intersection that's the worst intersection in this town is Aldrich Road and Route 9. Once you get past Aldrich Road, there is no traffic. I've been there through the afternoons, I've been there in the mornings, and there's never been an issue getting to that building. So I think that's another false statement that people just want to hold on to that. But I think it's a good move. If the price is right, I think it's a wise decision to make, and I'd like to see it happen. I know people are saying, oh, why not put it up to the voters, a referendum? Doesn't referendums cost money? I mean, I don't know how much money it costs to do a referendum. And it's not like you're issuing any new funding. This is money. I keep telling people, it's like we're paying debt service on this. It's like you've taken out a mortgage on a home, yet you don't own a home. You're just paying mortgage on something you have nothing tangible. So I think it's a wise move with the people's money. I'm in favor of it. I know the folks that I've talked to are in favor of it. I know people are not, maybe because they just don't understand the ramifications. People only see this building. This is the best building out of all the municipal buildings. If you've ever walked any of the other municipal buildings, this one's the best one. So it's shocking when you see what's been going on for years and years and years, and it's time for a change. It's time, and I'm glad you folks are saying, hey, we're going to make the tough decision, and I'm in favor of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Dave Schultz.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Dave Schultz, 149 Yellowbrook Road, Farmingdale, New Jersey. I like my backwards country town hall. I like getting lost on my way to town hall. I don't know anybody that wants to move town hall to Route 9. I like the backwards country town that we live in, and in this regard, I would respectfully submit that the township not move forwards, okay, on the global office building pursuit. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Janice Sawanek.
Hello.
State your name and address, please, for the record.
Janice Iwanek, Apple Tree Road, Howell. First off, I'd like to say that I've been a resident in Howell for 30 years. While I understand that the idea and discussions to purchase the global building didn't come up last month or 2 months ago, it's not a quick overnight idea. I do think that things change. The economy changed drastically. When I moved to Howell 30 years ago, it was I was told when it's 1 lane, go to 2 lane, 1 lane, and then you'll finally get there. I've seen Howell grow. I've raised my children here. Picked a bad time to get divorced in 2006, moved from Candlewood to Oak Glen. Have seen the value of my home in Oak Glen plummet because of the economy. Can't afford to do the repairs on my own home. Couldn't sell my house probably even if I wanted to. But the thing that bothers me about all the conversation that we're hearing about the global building is that if I could afford to sell my house and move, I could not buy another house unless I knew what I was going to do with the one that I'm currently in. I've seen the library come up, the recycling center, the police department, the basketball courts, everything. My kids have enjoyed all of this. I was here before the reservoir came. I ride my bike around the reservoir now, and a friend of mine and I had a conversation about 5 years from now when neither of us can afford to live in Howell Township, and we come back to visit, to ride a bike around the reservoir. I don't want to drive by here and see this hill and see McMansions where the engineering office is that overlook a golf course, or houses that are overlooking our fields, and I think we feel that, you know, the reservoir is ours. Why isn't there discussion on if there's 6.9, all this money, millions of dollars? What happens with all the other offices and all the other property, and if that, will it just sit there? Will it be sold? And then will that money offset some other debt that the community has?
Janice, we have looked at different things. We have talked to the county about buying the engineering building at the bottom of the hill, because that backs up to Howell Park Golf Course. We have put feelers out to Congressman Smith to see if they need one of the buildings for a veterans building, because they are probably losing the one over at Fort Monmouth. We probably will put some of the other buildings out for sale. It's something the governing body will have to discuss.
And then what would happen with the money that is generated from that?
Used to offset debt.
Use it to
pay down
offset what?
stuff. Yeah, used to pay down stuff. I mean, you know, money comes in.
Because I think that the thing that bothers me also is that in a time of the past 10 years, we have never seen anything like we've seen with the increase in technology and everything being digital. And yet, we're looking to like double the amount of space and size that we need when we should be consolidating. And if Howell, acreage-wise, is so large, why hasn't there been someone thinking about having smaller satellite offices? Have a small satellite office in a storefront in Ramtown, so people over there can go handle something and have an employee for the town that would then, on a computer, handle whatever need they have, if it's to renew a dog license or whatever. It just seems like at a time when everybody else is worried about the economy on their own, we're looking to expand at a level that I just absolutely cannot understand. And
That's exactly what I've been saying. We can't afford to do it in our own home, but we, how can we put it on the taxpayers?
When you get a chance later on, you're going to have a chance to speak. Come on.
Okay, well, I thank you very much for letting me say something. It just blows me away that it's going to do something in the town that's going to be one more reason why taxes are going to go up and one more reason why I'm not going to be able to afford
Just so you know, we're not bonding for one penny. The money's already there. The money's already been bonded for. So we're not borrowing one penny if we buy that building. Not one.
But we're going to lose the tax revenue, and without a doubt, it's
Okay, we will lose some tax revenue. They've just won an appeal down to $8.5 million from
and maybe if you waited another 6 months or another year. I mean, I read just something 2 days ago about how people like me who bought a house in 2006, it could be by the time, if I can't afford to stay to pay off my mortgage, but if I could, I've heard people say that 20 years from now, I'll be lucky if I could actually sell it then for what I paid for it in 2006. So I don't understand why with that one building, and I worked in that building for a little while, like in 2000, 2001. And I say wait a year and buy it for half the amount of money.
Thank you very much. Evelyn Gillette.
Evelyn Gillette, 68 Easy Street, back again.
Hello.
Hello. I just want to beg you again, please, to reconsider this purchase. A lot of things might look good on the surface, and I know you only believe in expert reports and things like that. And I know you don't believe in intuition.
That's not true.
But my intuition is so strong on this. It is very strong. I have prayed about this over and over. I kept saying, Lord, I don't want to even get involved in this. I can't take it. I can't handle the stress. You know what? But I feel him telling me, get down there and say something. I mean, you talk about that it's more handicap accessible. You have the ramp in the back, but for people like myself, like my mother, like Mrs. Smith, that don't use wheelchairs but are handicapped by having trouble walking, that's a lot of distance. Those are long hauls for us to have to walk. It's going to make it more difficult for the seniors when they have to go pay their taxes or get their dog licenses and things like that, of that nature. It's a big building. Those are long hauls. It's a long ways from the parking lot to whichever offices you want to get. These buildings, I need to go to the town clerk's office. I pull up here, handicap spot. The stairs are a little much, but then you're right there at the clerk's office. If you want to go pay the taxes, you pull right practically up to the door. You're right there. For a handicapped person that is not wheelchair bound, it is such a godsend to be able to do that. You don't know, if you can walk, you don't understand how difficult that is. And everybody's already touched on all the other same things that we've already been over. You know how I feel. You know my other feelings on it. Mr. Gatto, I wanted to meet with you, but this has just been so, I've had a lot going on, plus this is very emotional for me.
Thank you very
I
much.
will still talk again if you want to sometime.
We'll talk.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Don Smith. Oh, Elizabeth Nashevitz, I'm sorry. I crossed you out, Elizabeth, sorry. Yeah, no. I had to say I made a mistake. Things can happen.
Elizabeth Nuskevich, 150 Maxim Road. I'm not hearing the same thing that Kurt is hearing. I have not heard one person yet say that buying the Global building was a good idea. Now, I know you folks got a lot of emails, and I would assume you got phone calls. And I have a feeling some of those people never showed up tonight because it's like they're going to do it, and there's no point in me getting up and saying anything. I've told them how I feel already, and they're just going to do it. A lot of us know that building. I feel like I'm repeating myself. I've been saying this for 2-3 years. This is just something that won't go away. Everybody thought it was dead, but here it is back again. A lot of us know that building. It's not a comfortable place to be. It's
Okay.
And I'm just kind of picking up. I had a whole nother train of thought, but I'm picking up on what I've heard people say tonight. If we can put the veterans in these buildings and we can put the county in the buildings, why are they unsafe for us? Why are they unsafe for our employees?
Hold on. That's a different situation.
But it makes sense to me. We're getting out of here because they're not repairable and they're dangerous and they're going to kill off our employees. Why can we put all these other people in and they'll survive and we can't use the buildings ourselves? Okay? I have been getting feedback. Maybe I know a whole different set of people than you folks know, but I have not had one person say to me, what a great idea. They've all thrown up their hands and said, ugh, we're going to get it whether we want it or not. So my last word is, please, put it up for referendum. And then if all these people come out of the woodwork that are so in favor of it, we'll get it. And if they don't, we won't.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
You're welcome.
All right, keep it down.
Mayor, I think just for clarification, she should know that they're not putting other people in those buildings. He did not say that. He said that the county's interested in the property. He didn't say, the words never came from the mayor that I heard him say specifically that people are going in the building. He said he spoke to Congressman Smith about the property. If that means that they're going to tear down the building and build something new, that's on the government. If the county decides they're going to tear down the building and just use the land, that's up to them. But nowhere was anything said about people moving into that building.
We have offered a building. Now, you don't know what building it is. We have talking to Congressman Smith. We have said to him, might they have interest in one of the buildings? We have numerous buildings. Again, we've offered the Board of Ed to move into the Global building if we purchase it. That is our building. Where the VFW is right now with the PAL, that is our building. The tax office is our building. Okay? The engineering building, yes, we've spoken to the county about purchasing the land. It backs up to Howell Park Golf Course. The Fire Bureau building, if you can call it, the building they call the rec building that children ain't allowed in. And this is our building, okay? And you gotta, there's a lot more involved with future growth too. Okay, we've had the police chief on numerous occasions say he needs more space down there. I mean, what are you gonna do, keep on adding on to buildings? So, listen, keep it down. Don Smith.
Good evening. Don Smith, 54 Vanderveer Road.
Don?
I've pretty well gone over some of the reasons why I don't think we should move from this building to the global building. But I want to point out, I just happened to be reading the paper today, and everything that we talk about anymore, everything in the news, in the paper, it's all with the economy. And here they're saying it's not going to come back like they thought. The economists are lowering their forecast for job creation and economic growth. Now they say now it's going to be 2 years before they'll start. The jobs, the unemployment rate, especially in the Northeast, is very poor. People are worried about having a job and paying their bills. They don't want to gamble on purchases. They don't expect their governing body to be gambling with their taxpayer money. On the front page of the Asbury Park Press today, everything is about the fuel cost, pinching towns' budgets, what that's doing, how that falls on the taxpayer's back. Again, the budget, the economy. And we know that you just recently contracted with an outfit to adjust the property values or reevaluation. What's that going to do to our resources, the money coming in on the tax money for this year? We're going to be taking a hit on that. And unless the law is changed, we're going to be picking it up for the Board of Ed, for the county. You know, we have to make up for the shortfall on them. So this is the economy. The times, they're just not right for a move like this to expend this kind of money. My biggest fear is there were a lot of estimates given, and they were engineering estimates. I've seen engineering estimates, and believe me, there's a world of difference when the contractor gets in there, starts looking around, and then gives his estimate. All of a sudden, it's a whole new ball game. It's not a cut and dry figure. And how many times do we see cost overruns? Where's that money going to come from? We're tapped out. We're spending all the money we've got here. This is our surplus money. I just think that the time is wrong for a move like this. This is skating on thin ice. And that's all I want to point out.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Ray Ball.
Ray Ball, 42 Old Tavern Road, Howell.
Hi, Ray.
How are you? I gotta say, I'm really against the moving of this building, and I would like you to put it up for the initiative and referendum.
Okay.
It just seems like it would satisfy a lot more people, because like the person said before, everybody I've spoke to, I haven't met anybody who's, well, other than a few people I've heard speak positively about it. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's the right time. And I think that I think it's more like people have things to do and are not able to come here, or you'd see a lot more people here who'd be against this. And I mean, is there anything that's pressing? Is there a reason why we can't wait? You know, I mean, would you say there is?
Who, me?
Yes.
I don't make those kind of decisions.
Well, in
me
your
personally,
opinion.
Me personally, I'm against it. I was elected to make tough decisions. Okay? They've been putting off decisions on what to do with these municipal complexes here for 25 years. All right? Everybody kept on passing the buck down the road, and never was the right time. Never was the right time. Okay? When is the right time? Hold on. The economy gets good, to build a building next door is $20 million instead of 12.5. Okay? When is the right time? There is no right time. You know what this is? This is D time. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. Okay?
Are you against putting this up
Sometimes-
for referendum, initial
Well,
referendum?
I'm against it personally. I was elected to make decisions. I've never been a pastor.
But under the Faulkner plan, under our form
Hold
of
on.
government, you don't vote.
I don't.
You don't. You're not.
Yes, I do vote.
I mean,
Yes,
pretty
I do
much
vote.
The township administrator, she's like the.
No. I
mean-
do vote, okay? Me personally, I'm against it. I got elected to make decisions. I've never been a pass-the-buck kind of guy, okay? I'm not abstaining. I will vote, okay? I'm against it. Nobody from the governing body, except I think Councilwoman Smith said wants to put it on referendum. So there's not support to put it on referendum. So the answer is no. Okay?
Okay.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Janet Curley?
Coakley.
Coakley, I'm sorry. Could you,
Looks like Curly.
Curley could have slid, it wasn't just me. Hello, Janet.
Hello. Janet Coakley, 3399 Lakewood, Allenwood Road. I apologize for my handwriting. I had eye surgery, so I can barely see.
Okay. Well, my eyes
And
ain't
I'm
the greatest
suffering
eyes,
right
so
at the moment.
I apologize for my pronunciation.
Not a problem. I did send an email. I wanted to address some of the things that I commented on in the email publicly, and I'll read some of it if I can. First and foremost, the report titled 2011 Feasibility Study, Consolidation of
Excuse
Services.
me, Janet, they can't hear you in the back.
Oh, okay.
Pull it closer to you, please.
I'm being quiet. I'm not known for that. First and foremost, the report titled 2011 Feasibility Study, Consolidation of Services clearly identifies a predetermined path forward. And as I stated in my email, my preferred option is option 4, because Mr. Gatto had asked what option I preferred. Option 4 would be to refurbish the existing buildings, and that was not studied. Clearly, the direction that was given was to look into consolidation of services. So there was no effort put into looking at the existing facilities, what would need to be done to upgrade those facilities, make them compliant with ADA, make them safe for our employees, and proceed with that as another plan.
Okay.
So option 4 did not exist. I also questioned whether there was an evaluation of the Global Corporate Center for Environmental Issues. I understood there was a report to be published shortly from the time that my email had occurred, and if it exists, I wasn't able to read it. I apologize. I read everything else that was out there up to that point, could not read that. So I would like to know if that report was provided. Indoor air quality studies for
on.
mold, issues such as that for global. Well, we did it for all the other buildings. See, that's my point, is that we did thorough studies of the environmental issues for all of our facilities, but not for the facility we're considering purchasing.
I've not seen those studies, okay?
Okay, because my understanding was they were in the process of being developed. So
I've not seen those
that's not
studies.
the
I've
case.
heard different things about this would have to be changed, that would have to be changed, all conjecture.
But we don't know
I
otherwise.
haven't had anybody, haven't had anybody go into the global building and tell me they couldn't breathe. Okay, so, but I don't know. I really don't know everything about it.
We've had the global building assessed.
Actually, I'm sorry, Mrs. Coakley is correct. I apologize that there was a mold report, and
Yes.
I was supposed to have it on the website, inadvertently did not get on the website, but I'll email it to you. It was in an email, so I'll email that to you tomorrow.
Okay, fine.
Okay, I didn't
All
see
right,
it personally.
My point is that we're looking intently at the facilities we're in. We should be looking at the building we're looking to purchase or potentially purchase with the same intensity. Do an indoor air quality study. Do a mold evaluation. Check. I don't know when the building was built. There was no definitive answers to the date of the construction. But are there potential asbestos-containing materials? At least identify that there are not. It was a simple statement, it doesn't require a lot of effort. So that doesn't exist, but it does for the buildings that we're currently in.
We don't own that building.
I'm sorry?
We don't own that building, no.
But we have a right if we...
But
Okay,
if
no,
we're
we don't
looking-
own the building. I'm not saying what you're
Understood.
saying is...
Understood.
I'm not saying what you're saying is that far-fetched.
But if
Okay?
I'm purchasing a home, though, I'm going to have a study done of the safety and the conditions of that building or that home before I purchase it.
I'm not saying that's
So-
far-fetched, though. I'm okay with you.
Okay. Also, I have a concern because the Global Corporate Center is 119,000 square feet, while 49,000 square feet is identified to meet our current needs. So if we have an employee population of 73, which is what is identified in the study, that is more than 1,630 square feet per employee. Now, that's a good-sized house per person, per employee. So the facility is capable, again, according to the study, of handling 1,057 occupants, far more than we have. So it far exceeds our requirements for a new facility. And I have concerns for what the maintenance costs of that huge facility are compared to our existing facilities. Air conditioning, even if it's empty, you still have to maintain some level of heating in the winter to avoid broken pipes. So there's an expense involved. The assumption is that we can sublet some of it. Well, potentially we can, but the building has tended to be pretty empty for all these years. I don't know why we think that we can get occupants when they haven't been able to maintain occupancy there for quite a while. Also, I'm not sure that the study indicates what alterations are required to the facility in order to accommodate the township. It talks about what renovations might need to be done in terms of remediating some of the mold issues and things were addressed, addressing the sidewalks, et cetera. But nothing talks about doing internal reconstruction to configure the facility for our needs to fit our employees' departments. So is that an added cost? That was not clear to me if that was in there or not. It did not appear to be included in the cost, and that cost can be enormous.
I believe we did have a space utilization done, correct, Ms. Schlegel?
Yes, there is a plan for how the offices would be configured with little construction.
What constitutes little?
All right, that's, whatever we say, you're going to perceive it the way you want.
Okay.
Well,
okay. I mean, it seems to me there's a lot of gaps here, okay? We're saying there's little construction. Maybe your idea of little is different than my idea of little. I don't know. I mean, to me, $6.9 million is an awful lot of money. So if it's under $3 million, that's an awful lot more.
Okay.
Okay? So if it's 50,000, maybe we're talking a little, okay? But your scale and mine are entirely different.
No, they're not.
You like the 50,000 too?
That's a number that makes me stand up and take notice.
Yeah. Okay. I'm also a little confused. I understand the need for us to publish the ordinance with an amount of money listed that we're willing to spend. However, I've never seen anything to say what the asking price is of the facility. Now, certainly there has to be an asking price. Nobody just says, hey, I'll sell it to you, you tell me what you want to buy wood for. Okay, so I've never seen anything. Now, I'll tell you, I went out to the listing for it at the real estate agent thinking all the other properties give a value of what they want to sell it for. It didn't. So,
the first time he walked in these doors about 2.5 years ago, he asked us to buy the building for $16.25 million.
And I hope you told him no.
Yep, we did.
Okay, so if that's his asking price, then it's interesting. Somebody already addressed the child care center. I was going to make the same comment that it was in the report that there was a proposal to build a child care center, and I also have some experience because of the company that I work for. We have a child care center on site, and it's an enormous issue. It's an enormous responsibility, and it's an awful lot of money. So I would want you to reconsider that as a possibility. And I think everything else that I had to say was covered by other speakers. If you haven't gotten my message, I also agree we should not purchase this property. Not at this time, and probably not ever.
Thank you, John. I hope you see better. Carol Reed.
Janet, is somebody driving you? You're not driving, are you? Well, if you need if you need, we'll take you home. You have to wait, though.
You're going to be here a while.
State your name and address, Carol, for the record.
I'm also limping. Okay. Carol Reed, 172 Fort Plains Road. I'm also against the purchase of this building for different reasons, financial. It's a gamble, like Mrs. Smith has said. But I was just wondering, we were going to close 2 schools last year. One was
Who was?
the Board of Ed.
Were they?
They were. Southern School was closed, and they were also talking about Ardena School being
I
closed.
don't believe they talked about it, but I believe people did.
Well, if they were still considering closing Ardena School, that's a facility that we own, or the Board of Ed owns. Was that ever looked into as a possible site for the township
Contrary to
offices?
rumors out there, they never offered this governing body Ardena School.
And they never offered us Southern School.
I understand
I'm not-
Southern School is because they have to
Not to
have it.
own.
No, not to own.
There's a reason for the Southern School, because they have to have it in education for 20 years. It's in their lease. But I was just wondering,
That
since
was in the lease for the township, which would be for any school that we took over.
Okay.
But they never offered us Ardena School, okay? I know it was said last week, somebody called me, said they offered you Ardena School. I said, it's absolutely untrue,
Well,
okay?
the reason I'm saying it is because Ardena is the oldest school, and whether their lease agreement would have been different than Southern.
I don't believe so.
Well,
I don't believe
it's
so.
something I would look
I don't
into.
believe
I
so,
mean,
but I don't know.
I don't know either, but it's just an idea.
Okay.
But we've never been approached about that building, or there would have been another evaluation of Ardena School for municipal offices. It's never been on the table.
Okay, well, I can state my ideas, right?
I
Since it's an
think it's a great
right?
idea.
It's
We'd
a
love
very solid building. They just changed all their windows not long ago. I mean,
I would love it.
and I'm sure they were asbestos-free, you know. And it's not too far from this area. Also, it's more of a center of the town. That's why I'm saying it. Okay. Like Mrs., everybody's been saying, Liz Neskevich about the economy. We are still in a very bad economy, and there's a lot of people. I live next to Toscama. You understand that development? And the Cablevision just came around, and he's trying to sell his wares because I guess they're not doing so hot. And he's telling me that 8 foreclosures are on one street on Arrowwood Court, right across from my property. I have a farm, and that's only on one street. I'm sure there's more there, and that just tells you that the economy hasn't gotten too much better from 2008 to now. I'm sure you understand that, Mr. Walsh. You're in the mortgage business, you understand it better than we do, probably. But that's a lot of houses for one street, and that's just an indication of what's going on in the Monmouth County, and
going on in the world.
New Jersey, right. So everybody's tightening their belt. My father used to say, tighten your belt, to my mother. My mother says, I can't tighten it anymore. There's nothing to tighten. He used to make $60 a week, and we didn't have a mortgage. We couldn't afford a mortgage. So people tighten their belt now because they have no choice. They either lost their second job, they lost their main job, the wife is working 2 or 3 jobs just to keep their mortgage and their own self going. And in this economy, we have to think about that. This may seem like a good idea to buy a building cheap. I don't know how much this building costs. We've never talked about. Is it $2 million, $3 million, or whatever? There's a purchase price somewhere along the line. But our taxes are very high. For 8 years now, my taxes have gone up. I own 2 properties. We were reevaluated in 2006. I have a farm, and it seems like the assessment took it out on the farmers, because my house, which is one acre and the house plus acreage, for that one house and 1 acre, I was increased by $2,000 in 1 year. Now, the farm assessed, of course, I don't pay much on that, but I still pay the regular tax. And it seems like a lot of farmers were hurt that way,
Okay.
okay? And since
No,
that,
but you,
I'm talking about the economy and how
okay.
people are looking at it. Everyone's getting up here talking about the economy. This is my case, 2,000 increase in 1 year. For 8 years, we've had an increase in taxes. This is bound to cost us more money. Whether you take it from surplus or, this is a repair job in action. You're going to be throwing money. You don't even know what's going to cost here. We have no idea. You're not telling us how much this building is going to cost.
Carol.
You're not telling us how much is the repair.
Hold on 1 second.
When I buy a house, I look into that.
Please. Okay? Please. I understand your feelings and thoughts, but you can't. I'm not going to allow you to sit there and say you have no idea what it's going to cost. We've had numerous studies done. Okay, we've had numerous reports done. Please, okay, could an intangible pop up? An intangible could pop up anywhere in the world. We all know that. But please don't make it sound like we haven't done any homework, we haven't done any research, professionals haven't looked at this building through many different angles, many different eyes. Okay? Please. All right?
I'm trying to be open-minded, but I wish...
You're trying?
Yes, I am.
Damn, I'm scared now.
Well, come on. You're very arrogant. Let's be honest. At least talk to me as a resident with respect.
I have.
You want respect, but you don't give it.
I gave it to you the whole time.
Okay.
Come on.
Well, I'm trying to make a point here. My point
What
is...
is your point?
My point is that the taxpayers are hurting in Howell, just like all over the county, and we cannot afford this building. Whether it makes sense, or whether you think it's a good idea, well, that doesn't matter. If the money is not there,
Okay.
it won't be there.
And if the money is there, and I really do believe that it makes sense for this town going forwards, okay, with consolidating some services, putting employees under one roof, making the town more efficient. If I really do believe that, okay, does that make me wrong? Does that make me wrong?
It doesn't make us wrong either.
I didn't, listen, you have a right to your
I
opinion.
have one more comment to make.
Okay.
I wish, if you're so dead set on this, why won't you let this go to referendum? You're afraid that people are going to turn this down? We're taxpayers. We have that right.
Carol, this is what I am afraid of.
Right,
Okay, this is what I am afraid of. I have watched this happen in this town for years and years and years, okay? I'm remaining anonymous for now for fear of reprisals. If and when we would take counsel, the towns will receive notice from Mr. Gibbs' firm. I've seen what's went on in this town for many, many years, and it's sad. It is sad what has been said to people's children, what has been said to people's spouses.
What are we talking about?
Hold on.
I don't understand.
Hold on, okay?
In all fairness, that's not part of this public hearing. We're talking about buying a building.
Okay.
I'm not talking about
But then neither was the comments that we received from the public earlier.
Oh.
You have to hold everybody accountable to
Hold
the
on.
same standard.
I don't know
No, we
what you're
didn't.
talking
And we
about. I'm
stopped them,
sorry.
didn't we?
Listen. I am not for a referendum. You get 3 people up here to vote for a referendum, there's a referendum. I am not voting to have a referendum. Okay, there's elections. Okay? Everybody wants to come up with another alternative after there's elections.
It's only one alternative.
Listen, I've went through this for a couple years. Okay? I know what will happen, and I'm okay, and I am fine with it. I don't want to subject people. The same as, we all know. There's people that aren't here that are against it. There's many people that aren't here that are for it. I've told people, stay home. Do not raise your head. What is there to gain for you and your family? Zero.
If you don't come to voice your opinion?
Listen, they
There's
voice their
nothing in-
opinion in the polls. They voice their opinions in election booths. You elect people to make decisions. Okay?
Yes, but sometimes you're considered to be a public servant,
I am.
and we are the public, we are the taxpayers.
So are we.
And we have the right and demand the right to be respected. And
ma'am.
you're not being very respectful,
Ma'am,
Mr.
That's
Walsh.
okay. Thank you very much.
I still think we should do the referendum,
Thank
and
you.
that's what I feel.
Thank you
And-
very much.
And then nobody really wants this project.
Thank you very much.
Only you do.
Doug Nielsen. So state your
Hello.
name and address, please, into the record.
Yes, Doug Nielsen, 77 Norris Drive. One of my major concerns, and I heard part of the answer, is what's going to happen to this area here. And especially for me, because I live right in that ranch house around the corner. And, you know, I spent a lot of time here walking the dog and bringing my granddaughter around here. And I just want to know what's going to come of this place, you know, when it's all said and done.
I mean, I can only give you some educated guesses a little bit. I mean, we have spoken to the county. They're going to probably buy the land adjacent to Howell Park Golf Course. Whether or not that engineering building stands, I would say probably not. Okay? But the county's going to buy that land.
Right. Is the senior center going to remain?
For now, to the best of my knowledge, the answer is yes. It has
Okay.
not been discussed at all. Might it end up being there? Yeah, it could end up being in the
And I
old
heard
building.
something about this building maybe putting mothballs or something.
Oh, this
or-
building is going to be up for discussion at a later date. I have,
But see, that's what kind of bothers me, that it's a later date and not now,
Is you right?
you know?
Well,
Because I could say, all right, if I knew exactly what was going to happen to this building, then I'd be more comfortable about
Sir, I can
whether
only-
we could be going to
sir, I can only
to
tell you my own
global or
opinions,
not, you
though.
know?
I can only tell you my own opinions. We haven't discussed them in depth. I mean, personally, I think the other three buildings should be ripped down, okay? That this building here should be made so it's usable, okay? And
Well, I can
I would
understand
like to
that,
sell the other
but-
buildings. If the
Yeah.
Board of Ed would move into the global building, I'd love to sell that building to New Jersey American Water. I'd love to sell the building across from the soccer fields on Adelphia Road. These are my opinions, okay? These have not been discussed in depth by the governing body.
All right.
Th-
Well, I would
Are we going
rather-
to sell this land to a developer? No.
I mean, I would rather, if that point came where, I would rather see this building raised and made into a park or something.
Yeah, the answer is
than
no. It's
just,
not, this,
that.
it is not the intention of this governing body at all to sell this land to anybody except for the piece of property down by the engineering bin that backs up the
Okay.
Howell Park Golf Course.
All right, and the other thing is that, I know with all this extra space at the global building, we talk about leasing and stuff. Can someone tell me how successful the Southern School, old schoolhouse has been, as far as what percentage of area in that has been leased?
They
Does
were very
anyone know
close to
that?
having
'Cause I-
leased to numerous people. I believe they have a couple of different
Because I would,
entities in there now, but
Yeah.
they were real close to having the whole thing leased.
because to me, I would look at that, you know, that, like, if they can't do it over there, what makes us think that, you know, it could be done at the global building?
A little different.
You know, so. And the
Little
other thing is, I think somebody else mentioned this too, with the electronics today, you know, I hear a thing about everybody in the same building. With electronics today, I mean, you can be in countries, and it makes no difference, you know, so. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Elaine Taylor. Three. Elaine and two more.
Elaine Taylor, Maxim Southern Road. Like a lot of other people here, I'm against moving everything to the global building. And as president of the Historical Society, I'd like to get some kind of commitment of what we would be doing with this building from the mayor and council. And I know that, you know, we don't want to, you know, I would like to see that it is preserved and kept in the Historical Society, you know, in the historical preservation.
Historical preservation.
Yes.
I don't know what to do with that. I mean, it's nothing that we've discussed in depth. I've always said I wouldn't want to see this building ripped down. I mean, but I don't know what you're asking either. Do you want the building totally redone and
Sure, I'd like to see that
Okay,
the
you'd
building
like
be
it-
restored, preserved, because we don't do very much with preservation.
Okay.
I mean, if you look at the Mackenzie house, it needs a paint job, and nobody's stepping up to the plate with that. And,
Okay.
I mean, 5 gallons of paint and a couple paint scrapers would really be nice.
Okay.
But there is other action that we've taken at recent meetings. We've had conversations about historical commissions and finding other ways to secure financing for historical districts.
I'd like to be privy to some of that, because I am
You
not.
know that you've been at meetings where these things have been discussed. That's the sole intent of what we're trying to do.
Can you give me some examples, please?
We don't have any examples yet. We're still, it's all part of what we're trying to do to answer your question. People say they want the buildings preserved, but we can't keep spending taxpayer dollar after dollar after dollar. We have to find alternative ways to do things. That's what we're doing. That's no secret.
Listen, I would like to see this building.
Sure we would.
Stay here. Okay? If you ask me my opinion right now, the other 3 buildings would be ripped down. They really would be. Okay?
Okay.
I mean, that would be my choice. I wouldn't vote to rip this building down, unless you told me it was going to cost the taxpayers a couple $1 million to preserve it. If you told me it was going to cost a couple $1 million, I don't. Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'd be all for spending a couple $1 million in this building. It would be out of the question. Okay?
All right,
You've
I just
got
want
your answer.
And Mayor, if I may, I don't think it was the last meeting, I think it was the meeting prior to that, the council had in discussion creating a historic district.
Previous.
And it was carried, so there has
where
been
might
discussion.
that historic district be?
Well, we haven't identified the spots, but I would presume that this would be one of them.
Mhm.
I believe some was mentioned down maybe by Adelphia there, by Adelphia Fire Company was one of them mentioned also.
Ardina
Ardina.
in Jerseyville.
Okay.
I guess
Well,
the answer
I'll
to
get more up to
your
speed on
question
that.
today is, we don't have that answer today, but we're certainly working to address, I think, some of your very same concerns, because we have them too.
I would think that the Historical Society should be involved in recommendations for such a thing.
Absolutely.
We appreciate that, and would like to be kept privy to what's going on.
Who owns that building on Route 9? Do we, or does the Grange own it?
The Grange.
I was going to say, if we could be talked into swapping one of those buildings for that one on Route 9.
No way.
Oh.
No way.
I didn't know country folk wanted to be on a highway.
We love our Grange
Wasn't when
building.
that was built.
Oh, I was going into that subject next here. As the secretary of the Southern Grange, I feel that I represent a lot of the rural residents and the farmers of the community. And I can't, of course, speak for everyone, but I do feel that the people that I am in affiliation with are not interested in moving, our town center to the global building. And I just wanted to put that on the record. And I feel that, for myself, I think that we all need to tighten our belts at these times, and we're not going to talk about the financial thing again, but we're in a recession. It's not going to get better. And this is not the time to purchase anything. It's time to tighten our belts and to do the right thing. And I really feel that the people should make this decision, because the people are the ones that are spending the money. It's coming out of everyone's pocket. And I'm suffering like everyone else. I have to go to the food bank and get my food. I don't, it's really hard for me these days. And I'm a farmer, and I have to grow a lot of the food that I eat. And I sell some of the food. But these are hard times. And a lot of people are feeling the hard times, including myself. And I just want to say that I surely hope that you do not go ahead and vote for this. But if you do, we're going to try to fight it in any way that we can. We're going to probably start a petition, and we want everyone to vote against it and make sure that there is a referendum so that the people will have the right to speak, because it's only fair that the people do. Because this is America, land of the free, home of the brave, and we should have the right to have the last word. Thank you.
All right, let's keep it down. Mr. Pierre? I wasn't playing with all that you wrote. I wasn't going there. Name and
My
address,
name
please.
is Rick Pierre, Maxim Southern Road, also the master of the Southern Grange. If you guys know we have a master on it. I'm going to be short and sweet because everybody that's been here before me has really said everything. But I just can't sit there and not tell you how I feel. Like Elaine, you know, we're suffering. Everyone's suffering in this economy. Everyone I know is suffering in one way or another. I would love to improve my living quarters because they're not that comfortable. I live in an old house, 100 years old, and we need a lot of improvements. But instead, I'm choosing to pay down my debt because that's the prudent thing to do. And I really feel the town should be adopting that same attitude right now. Take your surplus money and pay down debt with it rather than leaping into the unknown.
This isn't surplus money.
We can't do that, though.
Hold on, sir.
I wish we could.
Sir, just so you know, when the money was bonded for, it was 10-year non-callable money. That's how we got the rate we did. So the money cannot be used to pay down debt. Okay? Cannot be.
Most
And
of
it can't, the bulk of
Make
it
it clear
cannot
so
be,
that it
the
doesn't-
bulk of it cannot be used to pay down debt. Okay? And it can't be used to do everyday running of the township either. It has to be used for life,
A capital project.
same life expectancy.
So just to clear my own knowledge, once you bond for this money, you can't, say if like, in my own situation, if I borrow money and I decide I don't need it, I can pay the money back early. You can't pay the bond
Okay.
back early.
Yeah, but that's only 2 years ago, there was a no prepayment penalty allowed in the state of New Jersey. And about 4 years ago, if you borrowed money, you could have taken a loan with a 3% prepayment penalty. So if you borrowed $300,000, it cost you $9,000 extra to pay it back. We have a non-callable, in order to get the interest rate we did about 3 years ago, where for 10 years, we cannot pay back the money.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
that broadens my knowledge. So, anyway, just to recap it, I am opposed to it. I also have, I know a lot of people in town in my travels, and I haven't spoken to one person that's in favor of it. I guess I don't travel in the right circles. You know, we're sort of in the bottom end of things. I'm not up in the upper end. But I feel, you know, you had mentioned that now is the time. Well, now is not the time for this. And I don't feel any time is the time for this move. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I was told James Lang is back.
I'm going to speak on a general thing.
Okay.
You don't want to speak about the global building.
No problem,
Mr. Lang,
sir.
Right?
John Costigan.
John Costigan, 214 Birdsall Road. I'm just going to give you my summary of what I think has been going on today, and I'm going to sit down. I think everybody up on this dais that's voting tonight has the best interest of the town at heart. I know that Mrs. Smith has a certain point of view, and I think probably most of the others have a different point of view. But probably since at least the early 90s, through all the administrations, they're all talking about doing something with the town hall. I heard maybe 10 years ago, it was like $20 million and whatever. Tonight, I think that there's going to be a decision made to authorize the expenditure of $6.9 million to do something to buy the global building. Now, I heard referendum from a lot of the people today. My opinion is the referendum is going to say, if there were one, it's going to say pay 13 million, pay 12.5 million, or pay 6.9 million. And probably the vast majority of the people that vote are going to say, whoa, I'm going for 6.9 million. And that's what would happen with a referendum. So I understand that the council is going to make this decision tonight. And then you're going to negotiate for the price of the building and the global building, and if it meets with the standards that you guys have set, then that's going to be bought. Now, the engineering building, the people that are going to not be working in the engineering building anymore have to go someplace. They can't go in this building. So either another building is built or another building is bought. And that's where we're at. So I guess what I'm saying is that you're going to make a decision tonight. You're going to negotiate to buy the global building, and that's what's going to happen. So I think after having looked at everything, coming down Route 9 at different hours of the day, at 7 o'clock, there's not a lot of traffic on Route 9 coming south. So my opinion is, I think that you should buy the global building if it meets with the monies that you can afford to spend. I understand that the $6.9 million will not raise the tax or the taxes on the people in this town if you can buy it for that money and fix it up and get it moving. So I think that's your best bet, and it's a decision that I took a long time to make. It's a decision that I don't have a choice in the matter, but it's my decision that I think is the best bang for the buck right now. I know we've gone to the business administrator on the county to figure out some way to get sewers in here to put up another building, but they're still talking about $13 million. And not being a CFO or not being a good accountant in any way, shape, or form, I figure it's going to be another $350 a person or per household for the number of houses in this town. It's going to be a $350 increase in taxes just on the municipal level to put a new building up right now. I'm hoping that you'll consider, when times get better, that you will consider, if the opportunity presents itself and the price is right, to perhaps sell the global building in the future. I know Mr. Gatto, Deputy Mayor Gatto, had mentioned something about 15 years. I don't know where I read it someplace, I don't know. But it's something you could do. And if times are better, you might be able to put another building right on the property, because when push comes to shove, this is probably the best place to have the township hall. If it can't be for a while, it's a decade. I hope I'm around. I think maybe you'll be coming back, but I don't know that. So I think you're making the right choice. It's something that I labored, and from my point of view, I studied. I tried to read up all that I could on it. I just weighed in my own little way the pros and cons, and that's what my decision would be also. So I thank you very much, and good night.
Thank you, Mr. Council. At this time, I'd like to close the public portion of the meeting. We're going to take a 2-minute break, then the governing body will deliberate. All right, let's go.
He's been up here before.
Did your wife even came for support, huh? I couldn't have got my wife here.
That's okay. It's non-binding.
She would have stuck a needle in her eye first.
And they need a lot of signatures.
All right, folks, we're going to reconvene the meeting. Got conversations, please take them out. Governing body, Councilwoman Smith, would you like to, any comments?
I have a lot of comments, but I'd rather hear from everyone else first.
Councilwoman Smith, come on. If you got comments, just go ahead and make them. It's okay.
I said I would prefer to hear from everyone else first. It might change some of the things I have to say. Thank you.
Does anybody else have anything to say? I mean, I have nothing to say. I have nothing to say. Councilman DeCastro?
Not right now, Mayor.
Councilwoman? Deputy Mayor?
Not right now.
Councilwoman Smith?
Just to get on record, because I realize this is fruitless, minds have been made up for months. I have tried very hard to look at all sides, all reports, and I keep looking for a silver lining, something that's going to make me feel better about this situation. It hasn't come. Actually, each report, each statement, each thing that comes up makes me feel worse about it. And if anybody believes anybody that says there's no traffic on Route 9, I don't know where they've been all their lives. There's always traffic on Route 9, and especially at a time, actually all the time, especially going south at night, north in the morning. It's hard to get to. It's very inconvenient. It's actually dangerous when it comes to the length of the jug handle. It's a very, very poor entrance exit. There's only one. If a tractor trailer has to come in and deliver something, I'd hate to meet that tractor trailer coming out because it's not going to work. Take a look at the ballards. The broken down pieces that used to be ballards, because a truck can't make the turn without going out into another lane. I have visions of being run over in my little blue Mustang when I'm trying to get into that entrance. The jug handle only holds approximately 8 cars, if that. Everybody coming to a town meeting. Okay, it's a stinking place to start with. I have basically been advised, with good intention, I'm not going to knock, by my fellow council people, that it has to be an either-or situation. And I have tried to look at it that way, but I can't look at it that way. My own common sense, my own experience, my own education has told me that when you're looking at a purchase, you look at that purchase. If it's a bad deal, it's a bad deal. It doesn't matter what the situation we're in now is. That can be made better some other way. I happen to think it's a very bad deal. I have been admonished because I give the impression that we don't have the money. We have $6.9 million. My argument is that's not enough. That's not enough to buy it, pay all the fees, and pay for all the repairs. Then once we get in there, maintenance is going to be a real killer. Why should we pay to maintain a building that's basically 3 times the size we need? Do we need an indoor garage? No, we don't need an indoor garage. It's going to be a burden. I can't see putting that on the backs of the taxpayers. I can't see looking at my own taxes and the way it's going to raise them. Okay, we get it all, we get the building, if we're lucky enough to get the building all fixed up, we have to maintain it and take care of it. And the difference in taking care of the size of the building and the parking lot and the landscaping and the indoor parking garage, that's not going to, my fellow council members have said they're not going to pay 1 cent bond for 1 cent or raise the taxes 1 cent over, and I believe them. I'm not questioning them at all. They are not going to do that, but it won't appear. as being particularly because we bought this building. It will appear as regular maintenance, and it will be a lot higher, and our taxes will have to be a lot higher. I think it's a mistake, and I believe those are facts. And my intuition says it's terrible. I'm afraid of it, and I don't want us to get stuck with somebody else's cast-off. That's what we're buying, somebody else's cast-off. If we're going to do something, let's do it right. And that's not doing it right. That's not an investment, it's a gamble. And we were not one of us were elected to gamble with the people's money. And I don't think the people who have stood up here and objected and sent us emails and called on the telephone and stopped us on the street, I don't think it's political, and I don't think they have anything against anybody in particular. They just see this as a hardship, a burden, a big mistake. There have been mistakes made by this council, former councils, a lot of them over the last 200 years. But I'll tell you, I believe buying this building will be the biggest mistake that any governing body has ever made. And we're not going to survive it. We almost lost it in the early 90s when surplus was all spent. And the state was going to come in and take over. And we managed to pull out. But I don't think we can pull out from this one because I don't think we're smart enough or have the gumption enough. And I'm tired of being left here to pick up the pieces. I think it's a mistake. And I hope that some other council members would see the light and not gamble, not go into this at this time. Almost every day we see in the newspaper where other municipalities have had to lay people off. How many of our surrounding municipalities have had to do away with programs? I think we just read a couple of weeks ago about the municipalities that have had to cut out all kinds of rec. And the cost of fuel, whatever that fuel is, the diesel, the gasoline, the natural gas or fuel oil, whatever you heat by, the electricity because of it. You can't get, you're going to run all these trucks on the solar farms? I don't think so. And as far as maintaining it, we don't have a crew large enough now in our public works to take care of 64 square miles and these buildings. You're going to add the burden of that very large building. Very large. More than we need. You don't buy more or build more than you need, especially in times like these. Will we next year and the next year and the next year have enough people to take care of what needs to be taken care of? The large global building, the roads, plow the streets. Just like this past winter, we did not have the snow fences put up. We didn't pick up the brush or the leaves. They finished that up in the spring. And because the snow fences weren't put up, we had extra damage done to personal property, property damage done to our equipment, and we had to keep going back because the roads filled in with snow. And we were lucky that there was no personal bodily harm done. We might not be so lucky next winter or the winter after. So if we can't keep up with what we have to do now, how are we going to keep up with the extra? I'm sorry, I think it's the most ridiculous thing I've heard in my life, and each thing that comes up makes me more adamant. I know that I'm probably the only one that sees it this way, and I know Mr. Walsh read an anonymous letter and somebody talking about being against conservatives. Well, I'm the most conservative there is, so I don't know what he's talking about.
I never said that about you.
Neither do they. Anyway, just basically, it's a bad idea. I'm sorry, I know everybody's well-intended. I'm not saying anybody's done anything wrong, unethical, but I believe they are wrong, and that we're going to pay the piper. I liked very much what Mrs. Murray said. I think the quote, "The devil we know," is a devil that we can deal with. We don't, what we do know about the global building, and I'm referring to the excess size and the extra cost that it will take to maintain it, is bad enough. We don't know what's going to happen when they open up that roof. We don't know what's going to happen when we get in there. We might as well, why not at least, if you're going to do something, do it right, have a new building. And I don't see anybody's objection to a referendum. If that's what people want, give it to them. But don't buy this building.
Anybody else from the governing body?
Mr. Mayor, I just want to clear something. I just want to apologize for Mrs. Smith because our DPW director is here, and I want to say as a council member that I appreciate the good job that DPW does. And I think under the circumstances of the snow that we had, that the snow fences up wouldn't have made a difference with the amount of snow that we had in that snowstorm. But that's for another matter. But I do appreciate, because I know that you guys work hard, and I personally thank you. You know.
You don't need to apologize for me.
Councilwoman,
He
let him
doesn't need
speak.
to apologize
Let
for
him
me.
speak,
I
please.
don't care.
We understand that, but please let him speak.
I said nothing against the Public Works Department. I said that we were short. I didn't.
Councilwoman.
I have always given them every bit
Mrs.
of
Smith, I have the
credit,
floor
and
now?
you know it.
Ms. Smith, do I have the floor?
No.
I think
Come
the
on,
mayor recognized me
Councilwoman.
as having the floor. So
So
please,
you can say anything.
so the decorum is,
You
please,
can
let me
say
have.
Stop the
anything.
meeting now.
Decorum.
Business of the town, and
It
move
was,
on. Stop.
it's Councilman DeCastro's turn to speak, all right? If you don't want to listen, walk out, okay? Come on. You know? Councilman DeCastro, anything else?
No, Mayor, just one other thing. I've heard a lot of people talk about the economy, and I was just writing down, something that, we're all taxpayers here. But the one thing that I just don't get is, unless things change, they're going to stay the same. And this governing body made a commitment that we were going to try to improve things. And to improve is to change. And to be perfect is to change often. So, I just can't understand, and I can't get a handle on it. I've said it before. We talk about how bad things are, how taxes continue to go up, but yet we don't want no change. We don't want to try to make anything better. And if we don't make it better, we change again. I don't understand what a difficult concept is. I understand the emotion of where Town Hall is. I think we've all said, in a perfect world, this is where we would want Town Hall. But it's not a perfect world, and we're dealing with what we have, the money that we have. So, Mayor, that's all I have to say.
Anything, Councilwoman?
I just want to acknowledge people's comments. A lot of people have come up here and talked about the building, the structure. And I know for everybody in this room who has come up and said that they are against the global building and for this building, it's because this is the heart of the town. And this is a very emotional thing. And I have to tell you, I've had conversations with Mrs. Smith. I've had conversation with council members. I have not made this decision lightly. And I have also not made the decision without listening to people like Ms. Murray, who came up and I think said, all the emotions and all the feelings that everybody has about this building. And it's important. And that, I think that is something that I can tell you personally, I'm not going to ignore. I'm not going to set aside as not being important, because it is important. The problem is, when we looked at the numbers, and the problem is when you had the professionals here tonight, everyone said they had all these questions, there's all these gaping holes. I just didn't hear, we had professionals here, we had the reports on the website, we've given up, given all the information out there. I just haven't seen one person, and I was hoping, because I was hoping to see someone come up with information or questions that I just didn't think of, or when I've had other people take a look at this that they didn't look at it. So I didn't hear anybody say, here's a question I'm going to pose to this professional that I'm not getting the answer for. And I'm not faulting anybody for that. I'm just saying that I came here and I vowed to everybody that I would keep an open mind, and I have not yet voted on this decision. And I wanted to wait till I heard everybody's opinion. And I can tell you, regardless of what anybody thinks or anybody believes about me personally and about this decision, there's no doubt in my mind that this is the single most important decision that we will make in council. I believe that. There's no doubt in my mind that everyone who's up here is making a decision based upon what they think is right and the information that they have gotten, and that also comes from you, the people. So when I hear people saying, well, you have to listen to me, I can tell you I am listening to you. I can tell you that I have taken everybody's criticism, everybody's information, sifted through the reports, and I've come up with every single time I've come up with the same conclusion. And honestly, it's not an easy one. This is not an easy one, because I've come in, I was sworn into office in this building, and I know that in talking to Mrs. Smith and hearing her input, and talking to my fellow councilmen and hearing them input, and talking to the public and hearing their input, the end of the day, the most important thing is dollars and cents. I'm sorry, but that is it. We have to be responsible. We have to make sure that we are being able to pay our bills. We have to. So I would love to have a building here. I would love to have a building that's gorgeous, that holds everybody right here, because it is where Howell should be. This is absolutely where Howell should be. But unfortunately, we can't afford to. So the same things that everyone's coming up to me and saying, you have to stay here because we can't afford to move, I tell you, purely on the numbers, purely on looking at this and sifting through this and looking at everything, we can't afford not to. We can't afford to stay here and keep things going the way they are. And to say it's okay to not comply with code, that's okay. I'm sorry, that's not acceptable to me. So I have to say that I've kept an open mind, and I do value everyone's opinion, and I just want you to know that my decision ultimately is not come easily. And I just want to thank you all for coming out, because this is, regardless of what's happened tonight, this is what matters. People coming here and voicing their opinions, it does matter very much, and I think it's important for us all to keep that in mind, and I hope people continue, no matter what happens, I hope they continue to get involved, run for office, get involved, and because it does make a huge difference, and that's it.
Dr. Mayor, anything?
Yeah. I think we saw a little of the good and bad of Howell tonight. And I don't think that good and bad has all that much to do about the global building, to be honest with you, because we could have been talking about a dog park. We could have been talking about a sewer increase. We could have been talking about any issue you want. And the accusations and the allegations, they tend to fly. And they're going to continue to fly long after we buy this building or spend $20 million to renovate this one. It doesn't matter. Because that's what the culture of the town has become, sad to say. There are a bunch of people that have hung in there with us through every part of this process. From the very first day we started talking about it, to the people who sent the emails and the phone calls, the people who asked us to go over to their house and talk to them. And at the end of the day, I don't know how many people were really convinced, but there were a bunch of genuine people who listened. And if we get that much out of it, then maybe we did do a little bit of good. You know, again, I think there's three big issues here. I've heard the economy. I understand that people are concerned, but then you haven't listened. This isn't an idea where we just woke up one day and saw a for sale sign on the Global building and said, boy, that would be a great idea. We didn't start this. I didn't start this process. It started a long time ago. The economy that everybody is blaming everything on, well, that's the same economy that drove the price of that building down to the point where it's an option now. The only reason we didn't discuss it previously when we had to decide whether we were going to cut a service, lay off police officers, or buy the Global building was because we couldn't afford it when it was being asked for $11 million. We couldn't afford it when it was asked for $8 million. But maybe we can afford it now. And that's what the process is, and that's what we're following through. So it's that very same economy that's given us the opportunity to look at the Global building as an option to a problem that's plagued this town for 20 years. I do support the idea of a referendum, but not the referendum that many of you want. You want an up or down vote. I can't do an up or down vote because it's the same up and down vote that previous administrations have given. They didn't give it out to the public, but they said, am I going to do this or am I not going to do it? Well, the answer is they didn't do it. We didn't create this problem. We didn't just wake up one day and say, oh my God, we have all these problems. We knew about it when we took office. If you want to have a real referendum, give everybody the choices. Give everybody the choices that we gave publicly. Give them option 1 for $12,464,000. Give them option 2 for $13,323,000. Or maybe we might just get this one right and give them option 3 for 6.9. Now, I understand there's words like gamble being thrown around. I think the gamble that's occurred is the gamble of the history where we've done nothing. I don't see this as being the biggest gamble that we'll ever do. Is it a chance that we missed something? Yeah, of course. But I don't think anybody can fault anybody up here for doing what we've done in the fashion that we've done it. It's been public, it's been validated, it's multiple sourced information, and you can pick apart any part of it that you want. You don't like the cost of one piece of equipment on the Global building, but yet nobody wants to talk about the fact that we don't even have a similar piece of equipment in the building that we have here now. So it's a constant, I only want to talk about one thing, but I don't want to talk about the whole big issue. And I want to talk about the whole big issue. That's what it's been about for me. If I had my way and I could find a way to not have to buy that Global building, I would. And if it meant that I had to spend a little bit more than $6.9 million to do that, I would have done it by now. When I get asked questions about how can I possibly maintain a building that's twice as big as I have now, I have to go to the people who were going to do the job. I have to go to the administration. I have to go to George Gravatt. And I've asked George, tell me, am I missing something? Can you not do this job? And if he told me that he couldn't do the job, I wouldn't be having the conversation today. The devil we know versus the devil we don't. We know this devil. It's just whether or not you choose to understand how many points that the devil has. We know exactly what's here. We know exactly what it's going to cost to fix it. We have comments from people that say you cannot make the building ADA compliant. You cannot enclose non-fire rated stairwells, but we don't want to talk about that. Well, that's the stuff we should be talking about, because it's the stuff that nobody has talked about. And if the global building happens to be a solution to all of those problems, well, by God, we have to explore it. That's what we're doing here. We're not the enemy. We're not trying to corrupt the town. We're not trying to make it something that it's not. I don't like the fact that it could be a decision that could change the culture of the town. But maybe, just maybe that culture will be a little bit different. It might be a little more organized. It might be a little bit better run. And it might be a little bit a better picture of what Howell Township could possibly be. That's the gamble for me. And I'm willing to take that gamble because the dollars and cents shows me that that's where we should go. It's not emotion, it's dollars and cents, it's educated guessing, and if I'm going to gamble, I'm going to gamble where the dollars tell me and where the unbiased professionals have pointed me. That's why I get the authorization to do what I do, and that's what I'm going to do tonight. So again, thank you for all of you who hung in there. Let's move on to the next issue, because they're going to be out there. This isn't the only problem we have to solve in this town. And I hope that you guys are all as passionate about the future options and the future issues as you have been about this. And let the dialogue continue, and let's move on.
I'm good. I've been through this for a few years. Really not a whole lot for me to say. I only had one question through the years that was answered time and time again. Was it economically the right move to do for Howell Township? As long as everything else lined up, it is the right thing to do economically. It gives flexibility for the future. Makes for it being more cost-efficient municipality to run. And something had to be done.
So we'll come and see you
Doing
when our
nothing
taxes
wasn't an
don't go
option.
down, huh?
Doing nothing wasn't an option, okay? People sat back in this town. I've heard so many things in the last few years, and some of them pertain to this, some of it pertain to the ball fields that were just completed, and really what it comes down to is that there was poor planning years ago. Things should have been done years ago in this town. I think this is the right decision, and there is no optimum time. There's never a time when a governing body ever again will have plenty of money and things cost, and the cost of things be so low. You don't get those two things in the same swing. You know, go try to buy a 2000 Mercedes right now, you can pick one up for $12,000. Try to buy a 1995 Mercedes in 2004 for the same 10-year-old Mercedes, you were paying $35,000. So there is no optimum time when there's a whole lot of money and you're buying things cheap. As far as running the town, you know, I've heard so many things about it's a bigger building. Yes, it is. It gives us options and chances. Maintaining 7 or 8 buildings is not an easy thing to do. It will be a much easier town to run more efficiently to the taxpayers from a structural point of view with management. So, my only real question the whole time would be the price. And told you the first price offered was $16.25 million. This governing body made a decision, and the decision was that we wouldn't even contemplate it if we had to bond for any new money. And I'm not saying it won't cost some things to maintain, but it would also cost money to maintain the other 7 buildings. And I've spoken to many people. And I've spoken to people that were against buying the building. And then I would explain to them why I thought it was a good idea if the price was right. and they understood more. I'm not saying they were 100% for buying the building, but at least they had an understanding. This town has been giving out misinformation for years and years and years to fulfill people's agendas. And sometimes it's a simple word like may or shall. A simple word like that can change the whole context of a conversation. If we did put on referendum to spend $6.9 million, $12.5 million, or $13.3 million, the people would vote to spend $6.9 million. We know that. Okay? It's
So do it.
okay.
So put it on a referendum like that. See what
It's
happens.
okay. I gave you a chance. 3 times I ran for office. I'll probably run for a 4th here in Howell just to give you another chance. Okay? I think I'll give you another chance. Okay? But, you know, my decision is if the numbers were right to do it. And I do understand the heart and the emotion. I really do. You know, I've run most of my life on heart and emotion. So, it is time to vote. Do I have a motion from someone, or do I have to read? What do I have to do now?
Mayor, I make a motion that ordinance number 0-11-17 be finally passed and adopted, and that notice of its passage and adoption be published in the June 17th, 2011 issue of the Asbury Park Press by reference to its title only.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Can I have a roll call, please, Ms. Woolman?
Mrs. Clark?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Now that I have the floor, I have never, ever said anything against our public works people. I said we didn't have enough of them. I know for a fact that the workers in this township have been cut down through attrition. And we don't have the crew that we used to have, and we have more roads and more buildings. I said nothing against them, their capabilities, their ethics, their work ethics. I said we didn't have enough people to take care of what we have to take care of. Now we'll have more to take care of. And please don't apologize for me. I know very well when I have to apologize for myself. And I didn't and don't do things like my fellow governing body members have. When Mr. Walsh conveniently called on me first to make comments and everybody else said, not at this time, so that I had to speak first. Well, I don't have to have the last word. The last word will be whether or not this fiasco is successful. And for the sake of the people of Howell Township, I hope you're right, but I doubt it. And my vote is a resounding no.
Mr.
And I'll
Gatto?
still be around to pick up the pieces.
Deputy Mayor? Sorry.
Mr. Gatto?
Yes.
Mayor Walsh?
Yes. Okay. Next. All we have is hearing of citizens.
Correct, Mayor.
We'll open up for hearing of citizens. I'm going to ask you to limit it to 3 minutes. Anybody who'd like to speak, the first person, James Lang.
I think he, oh, he's there, sorry.
He asked to speak.
No, I didn't see his hat. Hey, Mr.
How do you
Lang.
do, sir?
My name is James Lang. I live at 476 Casino Drive.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. I wish I was here in a little bit calmer atmosphere.
We're calm now.
So do I.
I've come tonight to, I guess, to ask your opinion or to ask make a request. My sister and I own the property at 133 Squonkam Road, which is Block 221, Lot 2. During 2007, we attended several of the master plan subcommittee meetings, and at that time, the committee and the township master plan engineer agreed that we had a situation that should be rectified. The property has 4 different zones that converge on it, and it's zoned ARE3. It was going to be made into an ARE6. It's a 3-acre piece that has 1,100 square foot house on it. My
Your
sister,
dad's house?
yes, my sister and I grew up there. So our point was that since we bordered on Frequency Engineering in the back on Central Avenue, which is SED, and the Snyder furniture places on the Matthews Road across from us there, Advanced Autos over on Squonkam Road right next to that, and then beyond that on the other corner is the Ernst company.
What would you like us to do, sir?
There was a memo sent to a previous council to recommend that we be made SED. So it would be more of a contiguous thing with the SED that's already there. And
there's SED right next to you?
yes,
And right behind you?
yes. And of course, like I said, there's 4 different zones that converge there, so you'd be eliminating a little bit of an inconsistency there, I think. What I did was
Can I ask something here, sir?
Yes.
Mr. Diallo, any light you can shine on this?
Not at this point, but we'll certainly look into it in the EPC building, sure.
Okay.
And also, do you know when the letter was sent to previous council?
I think it was 2007.
Okay.
Mr. DeCosta, you remember?
We'll
this
look
all?
into that.
No, I never.
Can-
It's the first time I'm here.
Can you give me a
Do you have a
round-
copy of the letter?
Well,
By any
I
chance?
never got a copy, but there was a memo that was sent from the subcommittee, and was it Jennifer Beam, I think, was the engineer at the time.
Oh, okay.
She was the
that
planner.
made the recommendation.
Sir, can I just make a suggestion to you?
Yeah.
You know, can we have this thoroughly looked into so we can answer you intelligently?
Yes, that's what I was going to ask you, if you would mind referring this to your engineer and let
Absolutely.
them. And I actually spoke to an attorney, and he said, I want to save you some money. Wow.
Okay.
And he said, speak to the council first, and if the engineer and the council see the point of this, then I spend a couple dollars on
Let us look into it.
representation.
Let us get some information, and you would like to see it zoned SED?
Yes.
Okay. At least we know where you stand on it. and-
Would you give us, make sure we have your contact information?
Certainly.
Okay.
Yep. I'll just write on it.
That would be,
He's on the list, he's number 2. I
Yeah.
crossed him out, make
Ah.
sure I didn't put nothing,
Our engineer needs your lot and block as well.
Okay.
okay?
It's 221 Lot 2.
He says 133 square feet.
Yes.
I'm searching our whole file right now, I'll let you know if anything.
Okay, it's,
Okay. And let us look into it so we can answer you at least intelligently, sir, okay?
Yep.
And someone will be back to you within a few days?
absolutely.
thank you.
Okay, sir?
Yep.
Thank you very much for waiting patiently.
Thanks for your attention.
Anybody else? Karen, yes. Karen Molino. Mr. Coffey?
Karen Morlino, 51 Peachstone Road. I'd like to know if we could have someone go out to 38 Peachstone Road. It's a vacant house on my block, grass about this high, newspapers, junk, garbage all over the place. Probably you won't be able to get the homeowner to cut the grass, but there should be a bank who has this house as a mortgage or a foreclosure or something. It's
Absolutely, I have code enforcement tomorrow.
an absolute nightmare, a danger.
Did you say 38?
I'm pretty sure it's 38.
Okay.
It's-
Well, we
there a
can't
pool
miss
by
it at
chance?
quarter.
You won't miss it.
Okay.
You definitely will
Is
not
there a
miss
pool
it.
by chance? I'm being
A
serious.
pool, I don't know. I haven't been
Okay.
in the backyard. I've only been to the front yard. There's papers all over. There's newspapers. There's nothing on the windows. It's definitely vacant.
Somebody
It's been
may have
vacant for a
walked
long
away.
time.
Recently, we had a fence down on a vacant home, and there was a pool in the backyard. We had to fence it because it was a house. That's the only reason I asked.
I know some people told me that you wouldn't be able to do anything about it if the bank owns it, because the bank won't go out there. But the bank is responsible to maintain that property.
What we do is in a situation where we have to go in and do work, then we put a lien on the property.
Yes.
Whatever you have to do is...
So
yeah.
we'll go out, see if we'll first try to contact the property owner, if it is a bank or whatever, to see what the situation is, and then if we do have to go in and take care of it, we then put a lien to recoup our costs.
Okay, the other question I have in reference to this changes of the criminal history background check. I guess I'm a little disturbed at it. We worked hard for this when it was coming out. I don't know that I agree with the people policing themselves with this. We had this discussion at Rec Advisory.
Yeah.
And I think everybody on the Rec Advisory, I can't speak for them, but we were all concerned about this.
Well,
I know you said something about you'll have a list put up on the website, but who's going to police that list?
Well, here's.
No, wait, let me ask another question.
Oh, sure.
The question to me is, who's going to make sure that they give you the list? Because you know for a fact, for all the years you were taking care of rec, and I was on the advisory committee.
Absolutely.
We couldn't get the people from the sports clubs to give us the information that they were supposed to every single year to get their leases signed. So who's going to make sure they give us this list? Because anything else we've ever asked them for, they were never cooperating with.
What Mrs. Morlino is saying is absolutely true, is what had happened in the past. However, I do believe that we just added a penalty clause. If I'm not mistaken, that was not in our previous ordinance.
Yeah, I saw that in the list. I saw that.
Our issue, our concern with us being the overseer or the policer puts the liability on the township. What happens in this particular case now is that the individual sports organizations, which are autonomous and not part of the township, will now have, that liability now will be with that organization. So they will be holding that liability. We are going to, obviously, we're going to request, now there's a penalty clause that wasn't in before. And I think what will happen here is that we're going to see that they're going to be very careful in making sure that their coaches or volunteers are fingerprinted. The fact that I think that we're going to at least post it on our website, the parents of the organizations now will have that ability. So I think they're going to put, this is just an opinion and it's not a fact, but I would believe that they will put that pressure themselves. I know I would as a parent. I don't see my coach's name on the website, on that list. I'm going to that organization to force them to find out why is this person not on here. We are, if we were the gatekeeper, so to speak, and to make sure and put ourselves in that situation, which we hadn't put ourselves in because we were doing the same thing. We were asking them to provide us with that coaches list. We don't know that they were providing us prior to everyone, that list was correct. So that part really hasn't changed. The only thing I feel that's really changed is that that company that we were using did not stop providing us with the service we really needed. And I think if we be proactive and make sure that stuff is on our website for parents to see and the public to see, then I think that is going to actually force almost a self-policing, which will help us. Prior to, we've just been given that, that list. We don't know if they were giving us that list, but we don't want to have that full liability of that being our total responsibility to make sure that everyone has been fingerprinted. We're going to have to, they're going to certify that those lists are complete And that puts all that liability on that particular organization
Is
and
there a
that president.
penalty if they don't supply a list to you?
There,
Violation of that.
Is that part of the violation if they don't supply that?
It's
I
part
know
of the
that,
revision. It's part of the revision that we just,
because it wasn't there before. It's part of
That's
the
correct.
revision now that they're going
yes,
to.
you're correct, it was not there before.
and I think when we talked about this, Mrs. Morlino, at the Rec Advisory Committee, I, to be honest with you, I got a little confused because I wasn't sure which part of this was the concern. And then I subsequently found out that there was a thought that because we were now not using KidSafe anymore, right, KidSafe?
That's correct.
That there was something going on with KidSafe that made it as though we were the administrator of who was actually getting the background checks. And in fact, that was only information that was provided
Right.
into the system anyway. So if somebody wasn't providing true information, KidSafe wasn't capturing that.
That's correct. And actually, when, because Mrs. Morlino was on the initial formulation of the ordinance, at that time, we weren't using KidSafe. That was something that came up years after. We didn't do that initially, so that was just something that we were doing. But you are correct. The information that KidSafe had was only the information that was provided by the organization. So we're really not doing anything different.
No.
We're kind of just cutting out that third party. And truthfully, I mean, we are going to have to enforce, that's going to be critical, that we enforce
That's
that
the
we
key.
get.
That's why I'm asking this,
Absolutely,
because
absolutely.
there was no enforcement before with them, and there was no. They didn't care if they didn't give us the information. I mean, how many times do you remember we would ask and never got it? So that's my concern. Are we going to get this information?
Well, no, it would cost them money.
You know.
Yeah.
So I mean, and the only thing we're worried about is we're worried about the
Safety
kids
of-
in the
safety
town.
of the
That's
children,
that's the, you know,
absolutely.
the safety of the kids is the most important thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the information that we talked about tonight and make sure that we all understand it. We'll send some emails by the end of the week to the rest of the members of the Rec Advisory Committee, tell them about what we talked. This is all brand new. We just talked about this afternoon about posting onto the website. We'll give that information to the rest of the members, see if they come up with any ideas, and we'll just how we got to this point, we'll just keep filtering that back and forth.
What I would also recommend is that whether it's the rec committee or whether it's the recreation director, immediately notifies my office that someone has not submitted the proper information, and our attorney can then move forward.
Oh, absolutely.
On the
Somebody has to-
organization.
Somebody has to
Absolutely.
police that. Somebody
Yes.
has to be in charge
Absolutely.
of making sure that every single organization gives this list up to you.
Well, prior to issuing any permit or prior to any season, whatever
I know,
that
but
case may be.
that fell through the cracks before.
No, you're right.
It
You're
fell
right.
through the cracks before. They never gave us any of the information we asked for that they're supposed to in their leases.
Yeah.
That always fell through the cracks, and I never, so that's why my concern is that, are they going to do this? They got away with doing everything else that they didn't have to do. They had to do it, but they never did it, nothing ever happened to them.
Well, now
They got
there's a
their
penalty,
leases,
so-
Now
there's financial ramifications.
but we got to make sure that somebody, I don't care who it is, somebody has to make sure that every single sports organization in this town supplies you with what you're supposed to get. Because if nobody polices it, it's not going to matter.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Coffey?
Hello again, Ken Coffey, Hampton Road. This is a quick one. You may have addressed this, but I could have missed it. Regarding the hybrid tax reassessment, can you kind of let me know what that's about, when it's going to happen? Do we have to sign up for it? When does it go into effect? The results, will it be the 211 tax or 212 tax, or what's going to be affected? Will we be getting new tax bills, stuff like
We put it out
that?
to bid, we had one bidder bid on it. So we have contracted it out. And they're starting immediately. Will it affect 2011 taxes? I don't believe so, not till 2012.
It is slated to be finished by the October, I think, of this year, which is the time frame when the assessor certifies the assessments for next year. Right, and it will take effect for 2012.
And one of the major reasons was
I understand.
I mean, it is a unfair balance of who's paying what.
Right.
When you lose a lot of commercial tax appeals, that money's got to come from somewhere. Where's it coming from? Coming
So-
from the residents, unless
Right.
you readjust.
So are they coming around to every house like they did in 207, 206, I
not
guess it
sure
was?
about
I hate to use this phrase, but it's the best way they will do a drive-by of every house. Under tax laws,
I'll be ready.
it has only been 5 years. If within the first 5 years, we will do a reassessment. They can use the original property inspection records. They do go past the houses to see if there's been any additions, any visible changes to the house that someone may have added a deck or a pool or a second story. But as long as there are no visible changes in the house, they will use the original inspection records that were done in our reevaluation 5 years ago.
And then reassess it.
And then reassess it using current market values. And that's
And-
the whole idea of it, is get everybody rebalanced.
And we'll go through the same process. We'll get a note, and if
You're
we
gonna
have a
have-
problem, we meet with
Then,
them.
yes, you'll have
Okay.
the right to appeal, and you'll have the right to go look at the inspection records and talk to the people and the whole thing again.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Coffey. Anybody else? Let me down, Jerry. You let me down, Jerry.
Barbara Dixell, The Villages. If several of us have had a tax appeal and have won a tax appeal in the last year or two, we're going to get reassessed again?
Yeah, sure, ma'am.
Wonderful, that's great. Nice to live in this town.
Well, what would you, hold
Mrs.
on,
Dissel,
hold on.
doesn't necessarily mean that your assessment will be changed from what the appeal officer awarded.
We just want a court assessment and got a judge.
That's right. And there is a freeze act that says your assessment stays the same for 2 years. The problem is, if you've won an assessment, your neighbor hasn't, now there's a imbalance in equity in the two assessments. And that's what we're trying to address.
I take it she wasn't happy with that answer.
Didn't get what you wanted.
No?
Anybody else? Let's close the public portion of the meeting. We have a meeting June 28th, executive session 6:30, regular session 7:30. Need a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mayor.
And a second. Give me a roll call, please, Ms. Wallman.
Mrs. Clark?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro? Yes. Mrs. Smith? Mr. Gatto?
Yes.
Mayor Walsh?
Yes, good night, everybody. Drive safe.